Okay, story time about my Vegas sugar daddy. We love that for us. So a little background information. I had just finished my senior year of college, which was a great time, might I add. If you're thinking about going to college, do it. Great experience. Totally would recommend it. My graduation day was a very emotional day. And the reason why I'm bringing up this day is because this was the day that my parents gifted me a trip to Vegas. But what made it even better is my parents had reached out to my friend's parents and got them in on the gift. Now, when my friends and I found out, we were all super excited and we instantly started to plan our trip. We made a bucket list of all the best places to party in Vegas. You know, just some hot girl shit, period. And the best part is all of us were single. And the worst part was this was our last time that we were gonna all like be together because we were all moving different places for our jobs. The night before we left for Vegas, we all decided to meet up at my house because it was the closest to the airport. So it was Heather, who was super sweet and caring and is overall the mom of the group. Then we have Skylar, who is absolutely psychotic and the mean one of our group. And then we have Chastity, who gets all the guys and is also super mean. Anyways, we decided to take some shots and watch a movie before we got on our extremely early flight. So we all go to the airport, we make it through security on time, which is a surprise because usually we're late to everything. But of course, Sky lost her makeup bag, so she was in a terrible mood. So we Ubered to the hotel and we all got ready. Then we decided to hit the casino. Honestly, not a bad time. I won $300 in 40 minutes. But all of our parents gave us a good bit of money to spend while we were on the trip, so we weren't too worried about losing money. So then we decided to hit up this really nice steakhouse. And while we were there, a group of guys asked my friends and I if we wanted to go to a nightclub with them at 11. And of course we said yes. They all looked hot as fuck. So we all exchanged numbers and Snapchats. And then my friends and I go back to the hotel to get ready. And of course, Chastity, who was boy crazy, spent forever stalking all these guys on social media when soon enough she finds out that they all play for the Vegas Raiders. And once she saw this, it was game over. She went to the store, she bought all new makeup, so it took us a very long time to get ready. Well, after we got ready, we called the boys, and since Sky was the one that they approached when we were at the restaurant, she was kind of texting them and setting everything up. By the way, can I just mention that nothing is like more attractive than when a guy sends a limo to come and pick you and all your girlfriends up to go to the club. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. So yeah, he sends a limo to come and pick us up at our hotel. And of course we start pre-gaming in the limo because it was filled with a bunch of expensive alcohol. Once we got there, Sky called them and then they came outside to come and get us. Once we got in the club, they took us back to this VIP section that had all the rest of the guys from earlier and then a couple more people. There were a couple of other girls in the section which I thought would be weird, but they ended up being super nice. After I had a few drinks, I started to dance and talk to this one guy, and he was super charming, but then he made it clear that he wanted to dance with everybody at the club and not just me, which I can't be mad at. We're in Vegas, okay? I need to chill. I'm not about to go psycho over a dude who is not even mine. That's just weird. Then I ran into the most attractive man I've ever seen in my whole life. Like, he was extremely attractive. We're just gonna leave that there. But just to give you a little insight on how attractive he was, I'll tell you. He was 6'2" and dressed extremely well. He had on like this tight-fitting white t-shirt with a few chains, and he had like perfectly straight teeth. Like his smile, to die for. But anyways, we start talking, and it was one of those moments where you feel like you have a connection with somebody like right away, which I was not expecting because I was like, oh great, you know, like a famous athlete, like this is not gonna go well. But we all danced and partied until around 1:30 a.m. That's when he said that him and his friends had to go and that we should meet up tomorrow. So that night we went back to the hotel and we're all just literally sitting and talking about how we cannot believe that this happened. And of course, Heather's being low-key negative about it. Like I said, she's the mom of the group, even though she had somebody who was just as fine hitting on her. So of course that night went slow as hell and I cannot wait to wake up the next morning. Felt like I had been waiting like 3 months. Well, eventually throughout the next day, we thought that it was just kind of a one-time thing because they didn't call us until around 2 p.m. But he said again that he wanted us to hang out with him and his friends. So because we didn't know the area, we told him to pick a spot where we could all meet up. And then next thing I know, I get this random address. So of course, Sky looks up this address on the internet and she sees that it's this big ass mansion. And then after he sends the address, he sends a swimsuit emoji. So of course we're all super excited. We get our swimsuits on and we get an Uber to this address. So when we pull up to this mansion, there are only 10 or 15 people there having a good time hanging out. And then there was somebody to walk us like to the backyard, and as soon as we walked out these big white doors, the pool looked like something out of a movie. I don't know, the whole entire house was just like beautiful. Well, eventually the guy that I had been talking to the night before finds me and he gets me a drink and we start talking. Well, about half an hour later, we go upstairs and we start talking and then we did the nasty, of course. I was expecting it. I mean, low-key, I was hoping it would happen. And it did. Not disappointed at all. Anyways, after we went back downstairs and we were talking a lot more and we realized that we both have a lot in common. And at the time, not gonna lie, I was kind of dumb. Not kind of, I was very dumb. And I thought this man could do no wrong. I was kind of like living in La La Land. But I mean, I can't blame myself. We were in Vegas. So I mean, like, we weren't really, you know, looking for men with red flags. Well, eventually he ended up inviting us to his practice. So fast forward, he was just like such a gentleman. We went to one of his practices and he continued to take us out after that. But as I said, I was just there on vacation and sadly all vacations come to an end at some point. But I guess I wasn't wrong about how we both felt about each other because, you know, eventually it was coming time for my friends and I to go home and start our new lives. But he decided to ask me to stay. He said that he would put me up in a hotel for the summer and get me everything that I needed. Then I could focus on my relationship with him. And if I liked it, then I could also just find a job down here. Now, to me, this sounded amazing. Who would not want to be in my position right now? Like, I didn't see anything wrong with this, even though I've only known him for a week. And looking back at it now, I only knew a little bit about him. My friends were all super supportive. They really liked him. So they all encouraged me to stay and see where things went. Once I agreed to stay through the summer, things got extremely crazy. He would take me on these extreme shopping trips and little vacations to LA and Mexico. Overall, he provided this like extremely lavish lifestyle that I was not used to at all. Now, don't get me wrong, I was loving this and I was super thankful for everything until this one day at the end of the summer. And I know you're probably thinking, oh, what could be so bad that you decided to cut him off and go back to your old life? Well, let me tell you, this was not the man who I thought he was at all. Nope. It turns out, since the Raiders used to be stationed in California, that's why he owned a house there. And I know you're probably thinking, okay, no big deal. Wrong. This man had a whole different life. He was married, he had a daughter, and they were all in a different house that he owned in a whole different state. And you know, that he just failed to mention that. I mean, I don't know how you fail to mention that you have a wife and you have a kid. And when he would go and visit them, his excuse was, I'm visiting my sick grandmother. Now, I would have never questioned that because that's just, you know, I wasn't gonna be like that, like stalker freaking person. But yeah, so that was a lie. But then I also find out that he's in the process of having another kid. Well, no, I guess not trying, because she was 8 months pregnant. And she didn't know that her husband was living a whole nother life. And I know you're probably wondering, well, how did you find this out? Well, the one day I was waiting for him and one of his coaches saw me and said, oh, you must be his wife's name. And then he said something along the lines of me having a second kid and how I looked great. So I just went along with it, and then I got to the hotel and I ended up doing some research, you know. And what do you know? It was true. He had a wife and a kid over in Oakland. But it was really not like out there on the internet, so it was kind of hard to find. Like, you would have had to look for hours to find anything, and of course I did. Well, I guess his coach ended up telling him about the fact that he saw me and everything like that, and well, he must have realized he effed up, because he was not supposed to be at my hotel until later, and he showed up almost, like, he must have cut practice early that day or something, because he came to my hotel unexpected as I was packing. He tried to make up so many lies and how nothing was how I thought it was, you know, and just pretty much a whole bunch of BS. Well, I told him that this wasn't going to work for me and I had to leave, and that I was not going to tell his wife, but he should. But I guess he did not hear the message clearly, because about 8 months after this all happened, one night, you know, I just decided to look him up. And tell me why I see divorce articles all over the place when you search up his name. And his wife got hella child support from him, which, I mean, period, sis, get your money. Moral of the story, no matter how attractive they are and how perfect they seem, people are not always who they turn out to be, period. And I think we've learned that by a lot of these story times.
My husband making out with another man on our honeymoon, and I'm refusing to give him a divorce. My husband and I met on a blind date. Our friends had set us up, and they made him sound like a Greek god. And he kind of is. He's super tall, attractive, Greek, tan. His dream is to become a politician, and he owns several businesses. I own my own marketing agency, and we're both addicted to work. We're literal workaholics. When we went on our first date, I was so surprised to see how much we had in common. Both super work-driven. We also found a lot of the same things funny. This was such a relief to me because I'd never been on a blind date before. And we talked about a lot of stuff, including our sexy preferences. He told me he only liked women, and I was like, okay, cool. And I told him, of course, I only liked men. We actually ended up going on a total of 15 dates before he asked me to be his girlfriend. Everything just felt so amazing and right. We had amazing chemistry, he made me laugh, and we had a lot of fun in the bedroom. After a few months, he asked me to be his wife, and I was so happy I said yes. He hired the best wedding planner in our city, and we got to planning. We were both really involved in everything. The wedding was spectacular. We got married in the winter, so it was snowing outside. It was beautiful. We had an orchestra, amazing catering, so I was really happy. The day after that, we went on our honeymoon. Planned to go to several Greek islands. Our first stop was Santorini. I actually got in really good shape for the honeymoon. I had abs. I wanted to look as sexy as I could for him. A few days into our stay, we found this really cute cafe, and the server at the cafe was actually really handsome. Him and my husband got along really well. So well that I caught them making out at our hotel. Part 2 is up. Got my husband kissing another man on our honeymoon, and I'm refusing to give him a divorce. As I walked into the hotel, I could see 2 men kissing in a corner. Obviously, I didn't know it was my hubby, so I turned away. I went straight up to our bedroom and I couldn't find him. I called his cell phone, but there was no answer, so I went right back down to the lobby. And this is when I look again at the 2 guys kissing in the corner. I could only see one of the guys' backs, and obviously I didn't recognize it as my husband. Not until I see my husband's hand creeping up on the back of this guy's neck. And immediately I recognize his hand and the ring. I thought it was a joke at first until I could see they were passionately making out. I yelled my husband's name and they both turned to look at me. That's when I saw it was the server from the damn cafe that my husband and I had been going to almost every single morning. The same guy my husband was talking to almost every single day. The server ran out of the hotel. He obviously was not looking to confront me. That's when my husband grabs my arm and takes me to the pool area. That's when he confessed that he thought he was bi and that he was just experimenting. And he also said that the server basically forced him to kiss him. I told him he should have been honest with me from the beginning about being attracted to guys, and that the least he could have done was not make out with this guy in the hotel of our lobby. He started to apologize, but I couldn't even talk to him. I still wanted to enjoy the trip, so I got my own hotel room. That very same night, my husband tells me that we should consider a divorce, and that he thinks he might have really serious feelings for the server. I said no. I would be so embarrassed if I go home right now and tell my entire family and friends that my husband left me for another man. Not to mention the fact that he totally wasted my time. I asked him if we could just work this out, and he's asking for an open relationship now. And of course, I'm totally in love with him. We just got married. I'm just so confused. What should I do?
Am I the asshole for keeping all the money from mine and my wife's baby shower? So my wife and I are having our first baby boy. We are due in May, so we had our shower last weekend. Her family didn't really plan the whole thing other than decorating, so I ended up purchasing a venue as I wanted to make a big deal of this to make my wife feel special. I spent $2,500 on this venue, which I was prepared to do and okay with. My wife wanted something smaller initially, but I wanted to do the co-ed thing and invite my friends and family too. After paying for the place, my account was depleted and I won't be paid again for 2 weeks. So I took all the cash we were given in cards and deposited it into my account. We ended up getting about $1,600, so I only ended up paying less than $1,000 for the shower. My wife is upset about this because she feels as if the money should be used for more baby things and not to pay myself back, as she puts it. I told her I can't just have $0 in my account for 2 weeks, and she said that I should have thought of that before booking such a big space for the shower instead of doing something smaller like she originally wanted. She's also upset because a majority of the money came from her family. I honestly just assumed any money we got was going into paying for the shower, and she assumed it would be for whatever else we didn't get on our registry. I can't help but feel like she's being ungrateful about the situation, but I also possibly should have planned ahead so I wouldn't be left with no money. I will probably use the money on baby stuff anyway, however, I need gas and food money as well. Am I the asshole here? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I believe I may be the asshole because I didn't plan ahead and make sure I had enough money to cover such a big event, even after my wife stated she wanted something smaller. Also because most of the money was from her family. Okay then, that makes me question 2 things. Why didn't your family give more money at the baby shower? Did they give more gifts on the registry? And why did you decide to go ahead and book a bigger venue when your wife wanted a smaller venue? One no, one yes doesn't mean yes in marriages. I don't know how this concept was missed on the way to saying your vows at the wedding. And yeah, because you didn't plan ahead and make sure you had enough money to cover such a big event, that's an asshole move too. There is such thing as foresight and planning, and you went ahead and was like, you know what, I don't need to do any of those things. I'm the king around these parts. Yeah, you're a bit of a dick for that one. I'm gonna go, you're the asshole. Now in the comments, so just to be clear, 1, you did the opposite of what your wife wanted because you wanted to make her feel special, and 2, people gave money for the baby, which you were using to reimburse yourself for the venue you picked. Sorry buddy, you clearly can't be reached through normal means of communication. There is no way to reach you which is more persuasive than the bare facts. You're the asshole. Yup, other people and their wishes are secondary to OP. I feel so bad for the wife. Also, you don't throw your own baby shower. That's just tacky. If they had all these friends they just had to invite, why didn't one of them step up and host the baby shower? You're the asshole. I think other than decorating means that one of her family was going to host, but a traditional baby shower wasn't what OP wanted, so he threw himself a party on their dime. Right? Could be that relative was looking forward to throwing the shower, but he steamrolled it. If he wanted her to include some of the women from his side of the family, okay, that's a reasonable request, but he should have asked her. He could also have offered to help pay for food and asked if needed for more tables and chairs / provide music, basically help, not hijack. You're the asshole. If you didn't want $0 in your account, you shouldn't have taken that much out in the first place. That money was most definitely meant for the baby, not for you to get paid back the money that you spent on your unnecessary expensive baby shower. And edit, also, who rents a venue that expensive for a baby shower? Either hold it in a backyard or a cheaper venue like most people do. And edit 2, sorry for the assumption. Every baby shower I've been to has been held in somebody's backyard. I didn't know, again, my apologies. You know, I thought the same thing. Even if you live in a small apartment, surely you have at least one friend or family member with enough space and goodwill to host a baby shower for you. Parents? Grandparents? Somebody? I think at my apartment, the clubhouse can be rented out for a few $100, half of which you get back if you clean up after yourself. There are community halls, parks, church social halls, so many venues you can get for free or for a much better price than $2,500. Your wife is absolutely right, and it must be frightening to be 1 month due with a man who spent $2.5 grand on a party, knowing he technically could not feed his family for the next 2 weeks. You're the asshole. What on earth were you thinking? What if no one had given money? Then what? And now to the edits and updates. Since there were too many comments to respond to, let me add some info here. I don't see it as stealing from my baby, since I don't by any means plan to spend all of this money on myself. I'm most likely going to be the one paying for everything the baby needs, and also I'm going to be helping my wife with her medical bills. My wife has money saved since her maternity leave is unpaid, so it's not like I'm just leaving her high and dry. She has money, and I don't expect her to use it on baby things. I thought I would get more money from taxes, so I did think I'd be able to afford it. Baby boy will get what he needs one way or another, but thank you for all of your perspectives. It opened my eyes. Edit 2, we got a lot of stuff for our shower, not just money. We have most of the essentials and all the big expensive things. The fact we had so many people is why we got so much stuff. We had about 110 people and definitely got more than what I spent for the venue. It paid off. A lot of these comments are assuming we only got money, and that's not true at all. Also, the shower was beautiful, and my wife had a good time, so it paid off in that way too. She's just mad now that I'm keeping the little money that we got, but if we had a smaller shower, we wouldn't have gotten all the items we did. Final edit. These responses gave me a lot to think about. I made a rash and impulsive decision because I wanted everyone to see that I could provide for my family, and all I did was prove to myself and my wife that I have a lot of learning to do. My decision to have a lavish shower was based on insecurity more than anything, and I was wrong for that. My wife did eventually agree to have the biggest shower because she wanted me to have a say since this is my baby too, but asked if I was sure that I could cover the cost multiple times. I said yes. Repeatedly, I reassured her that I could do this. I truly did assume that money given at baby showers was to pay for the shower, like how people pay for their plates at a wedding, or for whatever we as a couple needed. I didn't even think about the fact that the money is for the baby, and didn't consider putting it in a savings for him, but I like that idea. I have never been to a baby shower, so I didn't know any better. Those of you who said that I should suffer the next couple of weeks are right. I will give the money to my wife and let her decide what should be done with it. Thank you for all of your responses. And now in the comments, it's kinda concerning that spending $2,500 wipes out this dude's bank account for a couple of weeks when he has a baby on the way, especially when he's this impulsive with his money. And who the hell pays for a plate at a wedding? In Spain, you're expected to give a gift that costs as much as the plate, or just give money in an envelope. To be fair, Spanish weddings are at least a 12-hour party with a 7-course lunch, a 3-course dinner, and all the free booze you can drink. Maybe not an asshole, but certainly an effing idiot to pay $2,500 for a baby shower venue, especially when his wife was apparently asking him not to. Being reassured by him repeatedly saying that he can totally afford it. Nechmanet, I now have $0 in my account. Yeah, there is a difference between I have enough cash to buy this and I can afford this. He should have learned that before he even became an adult. This guy is honestly so stupid, and I'm honestly worried about whether he'll be able to take care of his kid. Next thing we know, he'll be posting, "Am I the asshole for not feeding or changing my baby all day? I just thought I could leave them in the bouncer all day until my wife got home to do her wifely and motherly duties." And our next post is titled, "Am I the asshole for throwing out my husband's dinner after he went to eat at his mum's house?" My mother-in-law calls every night to ask what we are having for dinner. She then brags about what she's cooking to make me look bad, especially if we're getting takeout. I used to care, but not anymore. But my husband would ask me to make dinner only for him to go eat the dinner his mum makes at her home, which is 10 minutes away, and then using the "that's my favorite meal" excuse. Yesterday, I wanted to surprise him by cooking one of his favorite meals, and although I was busy, I took the time off work to cook. I even went grocery shopping to get what I needed. Later, as I was setting the table, his mum called. I told him he didn't have to answer, but he did. Like usual, she asked what we were having, but acted surprised that I cooked this meal. She then went on to tell him she cooked X meal and told him to come over. He said okay, which shocked me. I said seriously? As he started dressing up, getting ready to leave. He told me no offense, but this meal that his mum cooked was even more of a favorite than the one I cooked, and grabbed his keys and left. I felt awful. I took his plate and threw it out, and then ate my portion. As I was about to put the plate in the dishwasher, he got home looking angry, saying his mom lied about cooking that favorite meal and used it as an excuse to force him to eat dinner with her. I was shocked, but he sat down telling me to go ahead and reheat dinner. I told him no dinner after he abandoned it. I threw it out. He said, "What?" And I told him he disrespected my time and effort and chose to go eat with his mum instead. He began yelling at me, asking if I really did that, then called me petty and horrible, and then went upstairs saying what I did was 100 times worse than what his mum did. I definitely feel like I let my anger and frustration get the best of me, but it really felt unbearable having to live like this for so long. By the way, I'm 26 and he's 28. Edit to add, to make one thing clear, and that's the fact that my husband only does this when it comes to food. He lived with his mum, attended community college, and loved and still loves her food and is used to it. She gave me recipes to make and I try to do that, but he keeps switching homes just to eat what he feels like. Jesus Christ, it's like stepping through a minefield, isn't it? You took time off work to cook one of his favorite meals, even though you're busy. You took time out of the day to go to the grocery shop to do it. It seems like this is an everyday thing where the mum calls and is like, you know what? Don't eat your wife's cooking. Come over here. I've got something better for you. And he answers that goddamn dog whistle every time. He's like, yes, master. You're my actual wife, mum, not my real wife. Then to add injury to insult, after he comes back, he's pissed off, he's angry at you, and he tells you to go and heat up his dinner. Get out of my house. I don't know who you are. You're a goddamn stranger to me. You're not the man I married. And if I did marry you, I made a mistake. Not the asshole, OP. I feel you. I feel your goddamn emotions. He needs to learn some respect, damn it. And now in the comments, not the asshole. Why in the world is he telling you to go heat dinner? Did a T-Rex attack him and eat his arms on the way back from his mum's? Did he try to catch a piano falling from the sky so it didn't land on a child playing and all his fingers are broke? Did he anger a forest fairy and she cursed him and now he has 2 sets of legs instead of hands? Or is that him waving a huge red flag? These are all good theories, but have you considered that her husband may actually be a stray cat enchanted to appear human? That would explain why he wanders from house to house, asking to be fed, and then picks and chooses from what's offered. If you're gonna keep a stray cat, don't forget to neuter him. Ha, pretty sure his mum beat OP to it. Not the asshole. Your husband can either commit to eating at home with you, tell you well before dinner that he's eating with his mum, or he can make his own meals. Until he starts regularly making a choice to be home, or go with enough time for you to plan and prep your cooking, please, cook enough for only you. He's on his own. Edit to add, I wasn't going to say that because I feel it's obvious, but I can't help myself. This is much larger of an issue than dinner time. There is a profound lack of respect in your relationship. Husband needs to snip the apron strings at the very least, but really, he needs to spend some serious time thinking about what a marriage and partnership actually means. Not the asshole. You didn't make him lick the empty plate, did you? I say that you were restrained. My mother-in-law was an award-winning Southern chef, my husband is a chef, my son is a chef. I cook well, but I'm not a chef. Not one of them has ever disrespected my cooking. People who are genuinely good at something and confident in their abilities don't usually feel the need to put others down. This a million times over. Talent isn't afraid of other people's interest and ability, also not the asshole. And now onto the update. Hi, waving emoji. I posted my situation here almost 24 hours ago and haven't really read every single comment because, wow, there is just too many. I saw a few pieces of advice and encouragement and I'm so thankful for them. Love heart emoji. But just wanted to let you guys know something since this is a throwaway account and I will be abandoning it soon. I just want to let you know that I will be sitting down with my husband soon after he breaks the silence. I'm just giving him the space that he said he wanted, and I'm going to show him the post in hopes that he'd see how none of this was my fault. So I'll also be pushing for couples counseling, although he's always been against it, but we'll see how things go. I'm not gonna lie, I still feel upset and like my efforts aren't being appreciated. His mum is definitely onto something with her little upsetting stunts. I've realized how important boundaries are, but also realize how enforcing can be difficult. I'm hoping and praying that we will tackle this issue so that our marriage won't suffer, But if he's still somehow unable to do his part, then that's on him, and I'm no longer willing to go through similar stuff and just take it, you know? So yeah, this is it. I honestly didn't realize my post was going to gain this much attention. And now in the comments, OP's husband is so illiterate, he can't even read the room. I so want to know if her husband saw reason after he read the post and comments. I was raised that if you have a plan with somebody already, and somebody else offers you a new plan that sounds like more fun, you do not abandon the original plan for the new one, and this is so wrong to me and so inconsiderate, I can't even. I would have done the exact same thing that she did, and I'd be furious if I were her for him to now be mad at her for what he did. That principle you talked about is one of the core principles of etiquette. You do not bail on your commitment to someone for something more fun. It is so incredibly rude. I would literally never cook for him again. My favorites? Hell yeah. My murder of crows? Yes, they would get fed. The feral Sasquatch living in the cave system? Sure. After all they did to help hide the body. What? No joke. This type of thing ended my in-laws' marriage. She tossed dinner in the trash, and it was the end. 40 years later, she still won't cook a pot pie. It'll probably be the end of mine too. I literally stopped cooking for my husband unless he specifically asks for a certain meal at a certain time. Like, he needs to say, make chicken teriyaki for dinner today. If he says, let's have Mexican sometime this week, it doesn't count. I was so sick of cooking stuff I didn't even like, only to please him, and for him to just not feel like it. Now I just cook for myself and my toddler in mind, which is rather repetitive, but at least if my kid dislikes the food, I don't feel bad about having to eat it in order to avoid waste. Am I the asshole for choosing brother-in-law over foster brother? So I am my parents' youngest biological child, but for a few months, they have been fostering Jonathan, 11 male. Jonathan attends a local drama club twice a week, and he's performing in his first show on Wednesday night. He made little invitations for me, my siblings, who are 33 female and 31 male, and our parents, and has apparently already told whoever is in charge to reserve us all seats. However, my sister's husband Trevor just got a promotion at work, and plans to take everyone to dinner to celebrate on Wednesday night. I've known Trevor and his family for 9 years and really like the restaurant they're going to, so I'd prefer to attend that instead. Naturally, my sister is also planning to attend her husband's dinner over a children's play. My parents are disappointed that we are not supporting their foster son, as he was so excited for us all to see him perform. My father told Jonathan that my sister and I cancelled, although we never agreed to go in the first place, and he has been miserable all day. He's been using my mother's phone to call my sister and her husband to beg them to come and to cancel dinner, and my mother has been guilting me about it. She says we can all just go for dinner another time, but he'll never have another first opening night, which I suppose is true. Am I the asshole? Edit to add, to clarify, it is not the three of us going to dinner. Trevor's entire family are coming. Trevor chose Wednesday because it was the night that worked best for everyone. My sister and I are the only ones who it inconveniences. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. 1. I might be the asshole for choosing to go out for dinner with my brother-in-law and his family instead of seeing my foster brother's play, and 2. This might make me the asshole because he was very excited to invite my siblings and I, and he will never have another first experience, while we can just go for dinner another time. For me, this one is a hard one to judge, and it's anywhere between you're the asshole and not the asshole, depending on how you view this situation. For not the asshole, you would argue that these people barely know the foster kid. It'd be no different if this was a stepchild that you didn't have any relation to because they're 11 years old, OP is 20, and the in-laws are like 30, 31 years old, so there's a gigantic age gap, and these people don't know the kid. Plus, on top of that, your parent invited you to this without your knowledge, and then they're like, oh, you're just gonna, bail on this and upset the kid? Ultimately, I'm going to go on the side of you're the asshole, or you would be the asshole if you did go to the dinner. The dinner can be rescheduled, and if you don't make it to the dinner, I think it is the right choice for you to just go and watch this foster child. Life is already hard enough being a foster kid. I don't think you should be out making it any harder. That's my opinion. Let's see what the comments have to say. You're the asshole, and brother-in-law is even more the asshole for scheduling this dinner on that night. It has the ring of passive-aggressive bio-siblings who don't like and want their foster brother. Poor kiddo. See, call me optimist, but I don't see it as it's because he's a foster brother, but because OP and the sister are now adults and have lives of their own that, unfortunately, means younger siblings, biological or otherwise, sometimes get left behind. I would agree if they weren't passing younger sibling up for a different family celebration. Again, I may sound harsh, but how is this any different than when step-siblings want to be treated the same as biological siblings when they met in adulthood and didn't grow up together and never lived together? Opie and his sister are adults, and this child is 11, and they have known him for a few months. I know I'm going to get downvoted, but Opie's parents signed up to be foster parents. Opie and the sister did not sign up to be foster siblings. They want to live their own lives now they're adults, and so they should. Why the hell do I suddenly have to attend shitty school plays for an 11-year-old I've known for like 5 months when I'm 20? I especially feel for the older sister since we are the same age. If you are 33 years old, why are you going to drop your life for a foster child that you barely know? The parents chose to foster a kid. Doesn't mean their whole family has to deal with it. All this is your parents' fault. They are the assholes because they, A, confirmed your attendance without consulting you, B, told your foster brother that y'all were gonna go, C, lied to said brother about you cancelling when you didn't even confirm, D, instead of talking with your brother-in-law about rescheduling the dinner, made a mess of the situation. Thank you. I can't believe how incredibly cruel OP's parents have been towards their foster child. Telling him that you guys cancelled is a lie intended to make him feel bad. They are intentionally hurting him just because it might make OP feel guilty and bend to their will. I hope they don't take in any more kids after this because they do not have the child's best interest at heart. You're the asshole. Dinner could happen any night. It clearly means a lot to this kid. He even made invitations for y'all. Go to his play and bring him a gift. I know. It killed me when OP shared that the kid made invitations, and OP's like, I don't know, I'm gonna go to the dinner because I like the restaurant. I think you need to think about if you were in his situation, a new kid in a new family, and possibly even a new school. Of course he's upset that his new family doesn't want to support him and see him perform, and he's just a kid. Moving dinner to another night is not a big deal. Be the bigger person and stop being the asshole. And now onto the update. After reading the comments and messages here, even the ruder ones, I just couldn't get it out of my head that I was doing the wrong thing. I knew that either way I would be letting someone down, but as many comments pointed out, I was trying to justify having a fancy meal that I'd probably have been out of place at, knowing that it would have hurt my foster brother and my parents. So eventually I did decide to bite the bullet and go to the play. I won't lie, Reddit, my lord it was boring, and cold since we were near a permanently open window. I wasn't allowed on my phone for 2 hours, and there were times I wish I'd just had my steak. Most of the kids didn't seem to know what was going on half the time, but Jonathan was one of the highlights. He didn't manage to remember all of his lines, but he was better than most, and he wasn't the boy who fell off the stage. The community center only served cold hot dogs, and while I would have preferred a steak, service was much quicker than at any restaurant. We went to my grandmother's afterwards, and my brother and I failed to cook, so we had to get takeout, much to my grandmother's dismay. Overall, it wasn't the worst experience, and my brother and I's attendance obviously mattered to my mother and Jonathan. My sister, however, is less than pleased with me for throwing her under the bus and making her the only person that didn't attend. She and my mother argued again about it last night, and she is blaming me for that. My original post got a mixed response and far more messages than I'd expected. To address some comments, I was unable to reschedule or rearrange the meal. I never had a say in the date or time, and I also don't have a vendetta against Jonathan because he's fostered. It is weird forming a relationship with someone you know will only be in your life temporarily, and I'll admit I'm not always the best at it, but I don't blame him for that. He's energetic and artistic, and I do quite like him, even if I found his play boring. I don't think my sister and brother-in-law have a vendetta either, nor do I think they chose that date to spite anyone. I do partially agree with some of the comments blaming my parents for how they handled this situation. I do wish they had waited for confirmation before telling Jonathan that I'd be there, but I don't think they were trying to manipulate anyone. They just wanted Jonathan to feel supported, although I still don't agree with my mother allowing him to harass my sister and brother-in-law on the phone. To the person who suggested flowers, my mother actually did buy some, although they weren't Lego, and Jonathan wasn't very interested in them. Thank you to everyone who was patient with me and offered advice. I'm sure Jonathan would appreciate everyone who wished him good luck and wanted to see the play. And now in the comments, God bless the kid who fell off the stage. Bless their little hearts. Good job, by the way. And OP says, haha, yeah, he seemed surprised by where the edge of the stage was. Wasn't hurt though. Sometimes doing the right thing by people isn't flashy or glamorous, or honestly, even fair. But you did the right thing. You did a very good thing, in fact. Well done, OP. You've shown great strength of character in being willing to listen and change your behavior, and you should be very proud of that. Not many people are able to do that. Jonathan is going to remember that you and your parents came through for him way longer than you would remember the best steak dinner you will ever have. It won't solve everything going on in his life that caused him to be in foster care, but going forward, he'll know that he was important enough for you to choose him over something else. That's huge. You made the right choice, OP. Good for you. This is the best way to put it. As someone who ran away from an abusive family, people who make you feel like you matter make a big difference in your life. Other people can be more of a family than their own blood. It may be a small inconvenience to you, but I think it meant the world to Jonathan to see that people cared enough to go. I know this probably means diddly squat coming from an internet stranger, but I'm so proud of you, OP. I think your foster brother would have been disappointed and heartbroken if you hadn't attended, and your sister/brother-in-law are grown adults who can better manage their disappointment. Most of the kids didn't seem to know what was going on half the time, but Jonathan was one of the highlights. See, that right there are the two reasons to go. It isn't boring if you just watch them as kids being as earnest a performer as they possibly can, and the boy falling off the stage? As long as he was unhurt and no one was mean about it, that's pure gold. I love that kid, and I don't even know who he was. And Jonathan being one of the highlights? That speaks for itself. As an adult attending a young relative's first band concert, I suddenly understood why Mum went to every one of my concerts. The squeaks and missed cues are hilarious and adorable. My sister and I laughed hysterically, although we ducked down in our seats so our relative couldn't or wouldn't see us. It was a really fun evening, actually, and I was really proud of our relative. A performance, especially a first one, is almost as scary as public speaking. You being in his corner makes you almost as awesome as Jonathan. And OP says, yeah, the boy who fell off stage wasn't hurt, but he did look very confused. There seemed to be someone in front row feeding their lines to them, as so many kids forgot their lines, and he was so busy looking at that person he didn't see the end of the stage. And yeah, Jonathan clearly put a lot more effort into it than other people did. I see why it was so important to him. And our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for telling my son I don't like him? I love my sons more than anything. I have 3, they were all raised to respect everyone regardless of their differences. My 21-year-old and my 19-year-old have that down great. My 16-year-old, however, is bullying a gay boy in his class, and I was less than happy when I found out. His cousin told me. I gave him the chance to invite him over for dinner and apologize, but he refused. He wouldn't say sorry at all. I get it. It's embarrassing being told off in front of your friends, but I don't care. I wasn't happy with his treatment. I ended up grounding him, but it didn't seem to be affecting him at all, and he clearly wasn't learning his lesson. I contacted the family and let them know what was going on, and they agreed to meet up for dinner, and again, I gave my son a chance to apologize. He got extremely upset and angry, maybe both, and said that nobody even liked that F word. Of course, I apologized and the family left. My son and I got into a big argument when they left, where he said he wasn't sorry, and again that nobody likes this kid. I told him that I don't like him very much right now either. He got very quiet, apologized, and went to his room. I've now been told that he's apologized to the student he was bullying, and his grounding has been lifted. He is still hiding in his room, and we very rarely speak. My ex-husband said that I shouldn't have told him I don't like him, and that there is no excuse, and of course that behavior is the reason we are not together, because I can't help but be a miserable asshole. I understand that it may not have been the nicest thing to hear, but he was not listening to a word I was saying, and was being a downright bully. Am I the asshole? I think the ex-husband is always going to get a biased version of the story from the son. I'm so sure the 16-year-old told an unbiased and truthful version of this story. Oh my god, very believable. But yeah, the ex-husband's comments here, very weird. That behavior is the reason we are not together, because I can't help but be a miserable asshole. I don't know, mate, maybe our behavior towards each other in this divorce led to this 16-year-old boy lashing out at this gay person and calling him all number of names, and then in 2 different scenarios refusing to apologize and upsetting them more. I don't know. Ex-husband, you don't seem to be helping the situation out much here. You seem to just be defending the boy. Saying that you don't like the son very much right now is not that deep. I'm gonna go with not the asshole. It solved the problem. He learned to have some empathy. He's like, oh shit, I don't like how this is making me feel. Maybe I'm making that person feel this way. I should change. And he did. I'm currently just very angry at the ex-husband because I hate divorces and the way that people twist things. That just, god damn it, I hate that so much. Anyway, comment time, smiley face. Not the asshole. This sort of behavior has to be stopped, and it seems you've managed to effectively stop it. You've told him that you didn't like him right now. Well, at that time, he was acting in a very unlikable manner. He's doing some soul-searching right now. Let him be, he'll talk to you when he is ready. And OP says thank you. My mother once told me that I was being ugly. I was like 12. I went and hid outside all day, and then gave her the cold shoulder. She didn't seem to care. When she finally asked, I told her she said I was ugly, and then she explained how I was acting ugly and I didn't look ugly. I still sulked, but it sunk in. 20 years later, I still remember the lesson. I didn't get along or understand my mother until I had my own child. It may be the same for your youngest, but you did the right thing. It's okay. He knows you love him. I'm from the South, and it has not occurred to me once until this moment that ugly is not a synonym for hateful or mean anywhere else except here. I don't think I've ever called someone ugly and actually meant unattractive. My oldest son was bullying his brothers, and I told him the same. I needed him to understand that you can't expect even family to want to be around you when you treat them badly and to not take them for granted. Same goes for just acting like a crap person in general. He immediately made efforts to change his behavior, just as your son seems to have. The results speak for themselves. Your son will come around, let him know you were proud of him for apologizing. And OP says, thank you. I've certainly told him I'm proud of him for apologizing about 100 times now. Just as a note, and I think it is important for you to hear, I had a teacher who used to tell us, we may have to love our family, but that doesn't mean we have to like them. You love your son and you care about him growing into a good person, but that doesn't mean you have to like him or his actions all the time. Acknowledging that his behavior can create adverse reactions, even from the people who love him, is important. You are not the asshole at all. And now on to the update. A lot has happened since I made my post, so I figured I'd just pop in to let people know how it unfolded. I have had a little chit-chat with my son to get to the bottom of his behavior, and it turns out he had asked his victim on a date and was turned down. Instead of acting like a normal human being, he decided to be spiteful and started bullying the boy. He's still making up for it, and we've had a talk about consent and the fact that nobody is obligated to date him. He knows I understand he was hurt, but he should have spoken to me. After all, it's what I'm here for. My ex is also openly homophobic, and he no longer wants to visit him on weekends, so hopefully his father will no longer make such a great impression. I also want to thank everyone for their kind words to this mama who thought she had handled a tough situation very, very poorly. I appreciate all the kindness. And there were some additional comments by OP, namely, his friend group is usually pretty sweet, and apparently we're not involved in the torment at all. His best friend is female to male. I don't understand his singling out this one kid. My ex had words about the pushing and shoving, but not about the verbal abuse because he believes it's free speech. The message definitely sank in for my son. I asked to see his browsing history a little earlier when someone suggested it. He wasn't happy, but he didn't say anything. It was a little odd, but nothing serious. Just regular stuff, you know? Men with dogs on Google Images, stuff about the war, clothes stores, Wattpad, XXX rated sites, obviously, and about 100 visits to his victim's Instagram page. You know, just your typical run-of-the-mill, well-adjusted behavior. And I haven't heard it from my son himself, but I've been told he's now being very kind to the boy that he was tormenting, saves his seat in class, and makes sure nobody calls him names anymore. I think the message sunk in, and I'm glad it did. And now in the comments, I love you but I don't like you isn't uncommon in fights around here. We are all adults. It helps reinforce that we are having a problem and we're upset by choices and actions, and when this is over, we are going to be okay. It's a paper cut, not a stabbing. And edit, this blew up a little, so to clarify, this is a tool from therapy that has been discussed as a way to shortcut a conversation while we're arguing. A reminder that whatever is happening isn't world-ending, and we still love them beneath anger we acknowledge as temporary. Building the tools to express yourself while mad can happen while you are calm and collected. Learn to fight productively. Yep, that's what my mum used to say to me growing up, with a right now after the I don't like you part. I think it's important to learn that just because someone loves you doesn't mean they have to like the things you do or say, and that you should try to be someone worth liking. My oldest son is a sweet kid most of the time, but with his brother, he likes to find whatever annoys him most and just run with it until his little brother explodes. He thinks he's funny and just joking. I told him he's tormenting his brother and not being funny. He brushed it off as me not having a sense of humor. The last time he did it, my youngest blew up and locked himself in his room, and my oldest is sitting there chuckling about him not having a sense of humor. He was shocked when my filter dropped, and I told him flat out he was being an asshole and was bullying his brother. I guess it sunk in because he apologized to his brother and has quit being a jerk for the most part. Sometimes you just have to be painfully honest with them. I get so angry when the parents of the bully ask for an opportunity for their child to apologize, because unless that bully is truly ready, it's just the parents asking for another opportunity for the bully to traumatize the victim. If I were the parent of a victim, there is no effing way I would allow any contact between them. The other parents ask us to come to dinner? No way. I got in a fight with another girl in grade school because she was verbally bullying me, and our parents insisted we should have a play date. I was so mad. At my house? She's gonna come in my home? My safe space? I wouldn't have wanted to go to her place either because I'd have felt trapped. My mum and I had a big fight about it, and mum promised to keep a close watch, and I was really standoffish when she got there. It ended up being okay, and while we were never friends, I think she did start to see me as a real person, and she never joined in on the bullying when other kids did it. We were probably 8 years old, but I would never do it to my kid. And Opie had replied to a commenter regarding this, saying nobody had to convince anybody. I asked his parents, they asked him, and he said yes. He felt like he deserved an apology for the torment he was putting up with, which he absolutely did. However, I agree that she should have made sure that her son was ready to apologize before doing this. And the other boy kept the secret that the bully had asked him out too. Bravo, other kid. That kid knows we don't out anyone, but wow, that is a tough one to keep. I mean, you don't do it, but at that age, with that level of torment, bravo. Our next post is titled, Ontario. I caught my neighbor's son stealing my underwear and other things. Family refused to believe me or my landlord and is threatening to sue me for slander. What can I do? So, I'm in Ontario, Canada. Moved into the apartment at the start of January. Since then, I have been convinced that someone is stealing my underwear, bra, etc. Every floor has a pair of washer/dryer units, and since moving in, I have had almost a dozen different things just disappear from the wash or dryer. The room is so tiny that there is nowhere to sit, aside from sitting on top of one of the machines, so it makes it very hard to wait for it. 2 weeks ago, I went and bought a bunch of new things, and when I went to go remove stuff from the washer, I noticed that several things that I had just bought went missing. Armed with this, and the fact it was early Saturday morning, I went to our landlord, and she was able to tell me that during the 35 minutes of washing, the only person who entered was my next-door neighbor's son. Now, at this point, I was furious and confronted the parents. The parents called me a liar and basically told me off. They absolutely refused to believe me. However, since confronting them, I have had nothing go missing since then. Today I put laundry on and started cleaning my unit. When I went to drop trash off, I checked the laundry and discovered our neighbor's son going to the dryer that I was using. I again confronted the parents, and they immediately started screaming at me for harassing their son, and threatened to call the police on me for harassing their son, and then threatened to sue me for slandering their son by implying that he is a pervert. My question is, does this count as theft, and can I go to the police and file a complaint? I don't want my clothing back at this point. And now in the comments, quote, I went to our landlord and she was able to tell me. How did she know this? And OP says, sorry, our building has a video camera on each floor in front of the elevator. The laundry room is right next to it. She was able to fast forward the time in which I dropped my clothing off and was able to determine that it was only him. Outstanding news for you. For your neighbor's kid, not so much. Call the cops. This kid needs help, and the only way to force it, given the actions of the parents, is to get him into the justice system, unfortunately. Make the report and ask your landlord to save the footage. There's your proof right there. Report it, tell the police, you have proof. This is some Russell Williams beginner level crap. File your report, let the police give him a good talking to, and file charges if necessary. The kid will probably get theft under $5,000 and community service, but more importantly, you can use a judgment in your favor to recover the cost of replacing your stolen goods, because it's pretty clear in this case you do not want the originals returned. And now on to the update. Thank you to everyone for pointing out I was an idiot and I should have called the police to make a report. A long story short, I went to the station, made a report, gave them all the evidence I had, along with showing them a copy of the security camera footage of both incidents that my landlord was kind enough to send to me. The police officer didn't seem to really care from my impression, but he made a report. No one to my knowledge ever came out or anything. Anyways, today the father and son came to my door, and he basically apologized for accusing me of lying and made his son apologize to me too, which was awkward, and gave me a bag consisting of my clothing. I told him I didn't particularly want that stuff again and was going to throw it out. Just the idea of keeping it made me disgusted, so the father kindly gave me the cash value for a rough estimate of the items and then some, then told me if stuff goes missing to come to him first. I'm satisfied, I guess. The entire situation seems extremely uncomfortable and awkward. And now in the comments, when your child is accused of something like this, I understand the instinct to go all mama and papa bear, but you have to consider that your precious baby is not perfect and really look into the issue. Some things just cannot be ignored. Kudos to dad for stepping up before this behavior escalated. Mom is not helping her son one bit. What's worse is they probably had previous or similar incidences. Reminds me how defensive a father got when I finally caught his son smearing feces in the bathroom of the indoor pool that I managed after 3 consecutive Thursdays. The father was the coach of the baseball team that practiced on Thursdays on the field next to the pool, and he got defensive real fast when confronted, and we pretty much said none of the players are welcome without a parent escort. Ugh, this happened to me. Except for no closure because there was no camera laundry room. Someone picked through my laundry and stole every piece of my underwear, and I've only washed bedding in the laundry room since then. Sad. It's unsafe to even wash your underwears. I find this behavior from the neighbor's son to be extremely unsettling. Yes, it could just be a horny teenager, but it also could be the beginning of escalating behavior. In Canada, there was a high-profile sexual predator who started off by breaking in and stealing underwear and then escalated to sexual assault and then murder. Make no mistake that the son is getting off on the thrill of invasion and theft, and that they belong to a woman that he sees but doesn't know. I hope the father gets the son some help because this is worrisome. Am I the asshole for wanting my mother to feel regret with her way of raising me? I'm 29 female, taking care of my mother, 59 female. My younger siblings are still studying in uni. I'm the eldest, as well as the only one with a stable income. I'm also helping to pay for most of the bills. My father died when I was 6, and my mother never remarried and worked hard to support all of her children. She's retired and wants to spend her remaining years with her friends and family. She lives with me. My relationship with my mother is tenuous. She raised me to be strong and was very strict with me. Let me preface by saying this. I will never blame her for working as hard as she did, because I recognized that her working was to support everyone and that it was her way of showing love by making sure that everyone had all their basic needs met. I understand that even more now that I'm a working adult too. Now that she's no longer working, she can finally be present in our lives. She's trying to be around this time, taking plenty of pictures and videos, and I know that this is her trying to make up for lost time, but at the same time, I feel jealous, seeing my siblings getting the gentler treatment and more love than the indifference that I got. I did not even get any verbal congratulations for all of my achievements. No pictures, no videos, and yet my siblings got it all. It's not my siblings' fault. It's just my mother trying to be a mother and being terrible at it. It's such a shallow thing to get angry about, but even knowing this, I am still so angry. So I've started being honest about my emotions and past experiences at home. I asked if she told my sister that she was worthless when my sister had her breakdowns, when she bought gifts for my siblings. I said, shame we don't have pictures of me in the album one time when I was browsing albums with her. I made sure to only say these things when it's just the two of us around. My siblings were not at fault. They don't need to see me being hateful. It's just with my mum that I keep saying little things like this. I haven't returned home in nearly 2 weeks, just staying at hotels and going to work, after an argument with my mother where she finally had enough with my words. She said that I'm not her daughter, because no children of hers would ever make her feel terrible after everything she has sacrificed for us. So I just left my house and told her she can bring whoever she wants to keep her company because I am not coming home anymore. And that I'll still give her money so she doesn't have to worry about bills. Everyone is blowing up my phone now, saying I should apologize. My siblings understand, but they think that I was too harsh with my words. I don't want to because I think I'm not in the wrong for airing my grievances. But now that I have some time to self-reflect, perhaps I was too harsh with my words. Reddit, I'm quite used to people being harsh with me, so don't hold back. Am I the asshole for wanting my mother to feel regret? I'm gonna go with no. I mean, you haven't given us the conversations where you're saying harsh things to her. If I saw those conversations and what you specifically said to her, maybe my mind would change. But she refuses to acknowledge that she treated you differently in a way that is much worse and more neglectful than she currently treats these other children. And instead of apologizing or trying to make things right in any way, she's deflecting and saying that you're a horrible person. She's saying that you're not actually her daughter. Well, you know, I don't think that you would feel like you were her daughter after going through all of that, so fair enough. Anyway, that's just really messy. I'm gonna go with not the asshole for this one. Now in the comments, not the asshole. I think it's time for you to separate from your mother and let her rely on herself and your siblings for support, both emotional and monetary. Your mother sounds like she doesn't recognize or refuses to recognize the difference in her behavior to you. You need to have a serious conversation about your childhood with her. Then, or before, you need to have a conversation with your siblings, because they need to know how you were raised differently than them, and while you don't blame them, they shouldn't be blaming you for how the difference affects you. It sounds like the OP tried, and OP's mum is in denial mode, / trying to rewrite the past. OP doesn't deserve to be functionally homeless because of a toxic home environment. OP is not the asshole and needs to tell her roommate it is time to leave. Wait, she told you you were not my daughter, while she, who is only 59 and already retired, is sitting on her tush in your home where you pay all the bills and expenses? You are not the asshole. She is darn lucky you didn't say, well, if I'm not your daughter, I see no reason to support your early retirement plan to mooch from me. You have 30 days to vacate my house. It is utterly insane that you are staying in hotels while she sits and does nothing in your house. Not to mention that OP should not be her mother's retirement plan. OP supporting and paying her mother's way of life is not a sustainable retirement plan long term. Mother is only 59 and could have 30 to 40 years left in her. What happens if and when OP wants to get married, start a family of human children, get a pet or an exotic plant collection, and live her own life with her money? That's what I'm screaming. I mean, holy moly. Her mom is only 3 years older than me, and I can't imagine thinking I should retire during this time of my life. OP should be building her own future, not be expected to finance mom's life forevermore. I am the oldest and had to do all sorts of things, like housework and yard work, that my youngest sibling did not. I also had to help take care of said sibling. I had to be perfect, while my younger sibling got to screw up, and keep screwing up. I was told my mother was not interested in attending my wedding. She only did because her sister forced her to. But 20 years later, made sure to fly across the country to attend all of my siblings' pre-wedding events. She even embroidered towels with siblings' wedding date for all family members who attended. She made no effort to meet my oldest for over 6 months, and then visited once a year until my sibling had kids. She flies to see them twice a year. I've tried talking to her. She tells me I'm jealous and insecure, that she had more time and money for my sibling. So now I do not call her, and her feelings are hurt. My kids do not contact her, and she blames me. Therapy is helping me immensely. I wish I had done it a few decades ago. I suggest you find someone who can help you. You deserve to feel better, not the asshole. And now onto the update. Everyone helped me sort out my emotions. Thank you. I decided to try one last time. This time, I won't be pagro, and brought my siblings and my paternal uncle to help mediate. I returned to my home and finally sat with my mother and told her how I felt throughout the years. I told her that I only wanted to be acknowledged and not be emotionally neglected, and that if she can be available for my siblings, then I hope she can try with me now. My mother refused to accept it. She refused to believe that she was partial to my younger siblings and that she only gave me tough love, that I was only hurting her by being ungrateful, and that I truly am not her child. She accused me of turning my siblings against her. Even with my siblings telling her the same thing that I did, she said she only did it for us and that we all betrayed her by hurting her like this. My uncle sided with my mother, saying that while he understood my feelings, I should have just accepted everything and let bygones be bygones because she's my mother who has sacrificed a lot for us. With that, I knew I wasn't welcomed anymore. I told her she can keep the house and that I'll still give her money and pay the bills until the day she dies, out of respect for providing me with necessities until I was an adult. I told her I will move away and that I won't come anywhere near her unless she is on her deathbed. I thanked her for raising me and left. I submitted my request to move my workplace to another branch so I can move to another state. I do not wish to be near my mother. I made sure my siblings will always be able to contact me if they need anything. I just signed up for therapy. I hope it'll help. I'm sad that this will mean that I won't have any parental figure anymore, but that's life. And edit, a lot of people are telling me that I should have just cut her off financially as well, but I cannot. Here, my siblings and I are legally required to take care of our elders. In this case, my mother. I would be charged with neglect if I don't. My uncle, however, is not required to take care of her. He has his own nuclear family, his wife and kids, to look after. I am the only one among our siblings working and having a stable income, so responsibility falls on me to take care of her, at least financially. Once my siblings have a stable job as well, they will have to do the same. And now in the comments, do you have a certain lifestyle that you are supposed to fund for her? Can it be the bare minimum? She won't starve, she has the house and the bills are paid. But you don't have to pay for gifts she gives to your siblings, correct? Obviously, my culture is different to yours. Sorry, I'm trying to understand what you are required to do. I understand in some countries is an actual legal requirement, or it was. Your mum seems to have stopped working awfully young. How long have you been supporting her? Can you create a fund to support your mother, so that if she spends wisely, she should be able to live on just the interest for life? If she spends the principal, she won't have money later in life. You can get your siblings to help contribute to the fund's balance. Then wash your hands of your mother. Your siblings can do as they please. Financially, you will have done your duty. If she overspends and needs more money, she can get a roommate. I understand in your culture it is a duty to repay what was given to you by your parents. In your case, financing you for 18 years. Can you stop paying her after 18 years? If she lives to be 100 plus, you will have to support her for 40 plus years. That doesn't seem fair. You'll be older than she is now. Best of luck. If I had to support my mother, I would not have been able to do it. I would have just had to take whatever negative thing that happens when someone doesn't financially support their parents. And OP replies, yes. Funding the bare minimum. Housing, food, and bills. Any other purchase is considered luxury/recreation, and it's not my responsibility. Yes, it's a legal requirement to take care of the elderly in my family. I'd be charged with neglect if I just leave her completely. There is also a social stigma around children that abandon their parents. They could be considered unfilial and, unwholesome. I don't know the correct English word for it. Basically, they won't be a good role model for society. Requests for promotions or salary increase could be rejected for this social stigma. Cutting my mother completely is not an option for me. Too many cons. I already started a fund for my mother 4 years ago, when she started living with me. She retired at 55, started living with me at 56. 55 plus is the recommended age to retire. She's considered old by the government. I had a hard time comprehending why people told me she's still young because of this initially. I'd imagine in the West, 55 plus is still young and working age. And yes, my siblings will help take care of her as well as soon as they have stable income. We are legally required to take care of her until the day she dies. So yes, perhaps unfair, but what can you do? At least I plan to be the cool spinster auntie, so no marriage plans. I am expected to support her emotionally, yes, even after all of that. It's why I had to leave. Harder to fulfill my social obligation when I'm very far away. At best, she can only reach me by phone. My siblings are on the lookout if she plans to come to me. She cannot stand being alone and abandoned, traumatized by my father's death. This is also why it took me a while to make up my mind and leave. My guilty conscience as well as my remaining goodwill towards her was what made me endure for so long. My feelings towards my mother is not all negative. It's complicated. I both resent and love her, even now. Her words are hurtful insults, yes. It's like calling me a good-for-nothing leech. Thank you for the understanding and kind words. I am blessed to have come across this. I appreciate that it's cultural, but I do hope one of the outcomes of therapy for OP is that they stop paying for their mother, or at least split the expenses between themselves and their other siblings rather than shouldering the burden alone. Unexposed is titled, Boyfriend Says He's Not Attracted to Me. I have recently been in an argument with my boyfriend of 3 years because I've been feeling like I need to feel closer to him than I have been. We have been long distance the entire time we've been dating, and since March of 2020, we haven't seen each other because I'm American and he's Canadian. Recently, since the border is opened, I've attempted to get him to come here. It's easier for him to get away because he doesn't have work at the moment and I have children. But the border has been open again for months, and he uses COVID as a reason he doesn't want to go to the airport. When we started dating, he made sure he let me know that he needed me to lose weight so he could feel attracted to me, and within that next year, I lost 100 pounds and got to a healthy weight. I thought once I lost the weight that he'd be into me more physically, because that's what he said when he asked me to lose the weight. But that hasn't happened. Any sexual interaction that we've had has been very few and far between, and last year I had a major blow to my self-confidence when I found out while he hasn't been active with me, he was making gross pervy comments on barely dressed girls' TikToks. We got past that, he stopped following the 2,500 lewd accounts that he was following, and he cleaned up his act. But that blow to my confidence, plus how I already felt about losing the weight and still not being enough, has put me in a spot that I don't know how to get out of. During the argument, he said that the only way he could feel excited by me now is if I dressed up in cosplay. He also called my former body a smelly roly-poly, which, even though is not now, still hurts since I'm still the same person I was then. I'm not against the idea in general, but I'm a little hurt that the only way he can feel excited by me is if I'm pretending to be someone else. I wouldn't mind it as a once-in-a-while thing to spice things up, but I don't feel like I've ever gotten to be appreciated as myself, and though it might be stupid, that is how I feel. I told him this and got a whole earful about how boring and vanilla I am, which I'm not. I'm completely willing to do other stuff in the bedroom too. I just want to do it the majority of the time as myself. TLDR, problem 1. I'm not sure if I can actually regain my confidence while I'm with my boyfriend because of the things he says and the past hurts that he's inflicted, along with his unwillingness to compliment me or make me feel wanted or attractive. Problem 2, I'm worried that even if I do the things he asks, that there is going to be more and more added to it, and I'll never get what I want. In all honesty, I kind of just shut down from the start of this, and I'm like, yeah, he's a lost cause. I've delved into the depths of r/dead bedrooms enough to know that this guy's just not into you. He's just been holding on to you in this long-distance relationship. A partner that actually wants to be with you, come hell or high water, will make sure they get to that airport or make sure they come and see you. Yet the option is so open and available for him that he's like, you know what? Getting on a plane, it's just not worth my time. I don't want to go to an airport, you know? In this context, I understand he's using COVID as a reason for it, which can be a genuine reason. I don't know if he is very scared of COVID. I don't know if there are people that are immunocompromised in his life that he has to keep safe. But I think it's safe to make that assumption given the rest of the post. As a certified doctor with 300 years of experience, I can definitely say that those 2,500 lewd accounts point to the man, maybe having a porn addiction? Especially with only wanting you to dress up in cosplay and then calling you a smelly roly-poly and then, not liking you for you. I died reading this because, my god, how could anyone ever be with someone like this? This guy deserves the worst, I'm sorry to say, but he needs to sort himself out. Let's see what some of the comments have to say. This man will never be what you need. He will slowly destroy your self-esteem. Break up with him. I try not to be so blunt about that, but this relationship sounds really damaging for you with literally no upside. He is nowhere near you, and he is downright nasty to you. There is no decent reason to put yourself through this, and your kids should not see you in a relationship like this one. They look up to you, and you deserve better. There will be people you can actually see in person who don't make you feel like crap out there, if you just unshackle yourself from this dead weight. Congratulations on the 100-pound weight loss. With a 2-minute international phone call, you could lose another 200 pounds. Dump him. You'll find someone closer and better. Good luck. Time for you to leave. Nobody benefits from a slow death, and if he has spoken the words, he means it. He probably has somebody else, I'm sorry to say. Man, he's an asshole. I'm sorry, all I can say is find someone worth your time and effort, and honestly, all this time and you don't even get to have sex? I mean, maybe he's being honest, but to me, he sounds like he's still not attracted to you, even after the wait. Next it'll be get plastic surgery. I bet he ain't no prize. So I say move on to someone who makes you feel good about yourself. He should be telling you how proud he is of you for losing all that weight. Girl, I'm proud of you. Dump him. He doesn't make the effort to see you. He is chipping away at your self-esteem and refers to your body, past or present tense doesn't matter, in derogatory terms. The last I was aware is that relationships are two-way partnerships, so to avoid jumping to conclusions, I ask you to ask yourself, what enhancements is he bringing to your life that make you accept this behavior? Can you truly say your life is better with the interactions involving him in it? These two questions will really give you an answer. As a side note, well done for losing all that weight. I hope you feel comfortable in your new body and are proud of the commitments and achievements you made to yourself. And OP says, my answer used to be, because he's my best friend. But I'm starting to realize that best friends don't repetitively try to hurt the other. Exactly. The general advice I give to myself is only to match the efforts that I receive in return. That goes for romantic and platonic relationships. It stops me from being resentful of people for not matching my efforts. However, to go alongside this, you must also be aware of your own needs and requirements. If they aren't being met, I would say this warrants a very open and honest conversation with your boyfriend. If they get defensive or repeatedly won't meet you at your needs, then you need to decide, are you going to honor your own needs by ending that relationship, or are you going to accept your needs and requirements will never be a priority? And now, onto the update. It took me this long because he kept making excuses and talking me into coming back to him, and I guess I just fell for it. I've been trusting him more, so the bad feelings I had about TikTok were fading away a little, and I decided to download it again because my coworkers have been showing me funny stuff on there. Well, I went to go follow my boyfriend, and even though he told me he cleaned up his TikTok, I found him following an account that was literal porn disguised as breastfeeding. This girl was topless in the post, and I guess it got past TikTok because she was feeding her baby, but she was doing it in such a gross, sexualized manner that I felt gross looking at it like it was straight up CP or something. I reported the account and uninstalled TikTok after getting a few screenshots of my boyfriend's comment and follow on her, along with a screenshot of the account, and sent it all to him, and am just so mad and grossed out right now that I ended it for good. I don't really feel any sadness right now. I don't know if I will in a few days or not. I mostly just feel super grossed out and full of hatred. I don't know if I have ever been this mad before, and I definitely feel like all that time I spent trying to trust him again was frickin' useless. 3 years of my life down the drain, but it's better than more. I wish I would have listened to all the comments that I got from people, but I do think it helped at least make things easier right now to just leave. Maybe I needed to find this stuff to give myself closure that he wasn't really interested in making me happy. But in any case, I'm glad that I looked, and I'm glad I can close this chapter of my life. I'm going back to school starting this summer to finish my teaching degree, so I have some things coming up to keep me busy. I have just been spending tonight making sure he's blocked on everything. changing my passwords, and requesting a new debit card to make sure any automatic payments he has on it don't go through. Thank you, Reddit. And now in the comments, because you went through the process of giving him another chance, at least you won't ever have to wonder if you were too hasty or you made the wrong decision. Well done. I'm sorry that you went through this, but hey, you're healthy, young, and you got into shape, which is impressive, and now you're away from this gross man. You're gonna be okay. Never, ever, ever, ever date someone who starts the relationship treating you like crap. Seriously, I am so angry on your behalf that he told you to lose weight at the beginning of the relationship. I would really suggest spending some time on you, building your self-esteem, because it must have been poor to have tolerated that from him. He had access to her credit card? That should have been in line 1. He was using her for money and playing the do this then I will game to keep her stringing along. She was paying for things for him because he was unemployed? Lol? Yeah. The dude was living the life in another country and possibly had other girlfriend while OP was naively thinking that she wasn't good enough for the twat. Why would you date someone that you're not attracted to? On the other hand, why would you not break up with someone who says that to you when you just started dating? Because her self-esteem is in the cellar. It is subterranean. It's awful what some people will put up with in order not to be single. I know. I wish parents in society in general would stop making women feel like they have to have a man. It's not really a woman thing. Lots of guys stay in terrible relationships to avoid being lonely. We need to teach kids that it's fine to be single. Fair enough, but historically, women were told that the biggest accomplishments they could achieve in life was getting a husband and becoming a mother. But I do know a few men who got married due to loneliness, so your point is valid. When she said he followed 2,500 accounts and stopped, all I could think was he probably just set up another one that she didn't know about. How do you meet someone in another country and get in a serious relationship while you have kids and don't pick up on any of the flashing red flags? At least she's free of him now. Desperation and loneliness and very, very low self-esteem at a guess. Our next post is titled, I was pro-life until I found myself with an unwanted pregnancy and aborted. I deeply regret the things I've said and done. I grew up in a very strict Christian household. I remember being 9 years old, standing outside of clinics holding signs that I didn't really understand. But it made my mum proud, so I did it. As I got older, I too found abortion to be a disgusting act of taking an innocent baby's life. I remember when I was 16. My friend became pregnant on accident and told me she wanted to get rid of it. I screamed at her, recited biblical verses, anything I could to make her feel shame. She cried, and we haven't talked since. I genuinely thought I did the right thing, and my mum was proud. I too grew up to protest outside clinics. It's what I grew up doing. It was a church event. We promised the mothers resources if they chose life. I never bothered to check if this was true. I was blind with faith, and I now know that it wasn't. About 6 months ago, I got a positive test. I thought I was supposed to be excited, but I wasn't. I knew I couldn't afford this baby. It would ruin my life. I had just started a new job and was about to move. A baby would ruin everything. I cried and prayed for a week. I knew what I needed to do. I kept quiet, didn't tell my boyfriend or mum, no one knew. I made the appointment and things went well, and I try not to think about it. So now I realize what all those women that I shamed went through. I am fully pro-choice now. If I could take everything back, I would, but I can't. I feel so guilty. I struggle with my religion and faith now as well. And edit, the hate does not bother me. I do not want your pity or sympathy, so it's okay if you don't give it to me, like some of you were saying. I understand why you all feel the way you do though, and I wish you all well. And now in the comments, am I the only one who finds it extremely inappropriate to drag a 9-year-old to these protests? No, you're not the only one, but I have found that really religious people tend to start brainwashing at birth to make sure it sticks and is ingrained in the entire being. I've driven past protests that have children that are just learning to walk. You'd be surprised at how many pro-life people have abortions of their own. Sin for thee, not for me. The only moral abortion is my abortion. If you haven't Googled that exact phrase and read all those stories, I think you're missing out a bit. It's quite an eye-opening experience. Honestly, I don't love these types of redemption stories. It shows a startling lack of empathy and hypocrisy. I have found in my experience that these types of folk don't have sympathy for anything they personally haven't had to deal with. I guess I'm happy that this person came around, but what other things are they not sympathetic about? How many other issues do they ignore or are hurtful about? For example, more times like the alienated friend. The hypocrisy around sexuality and the religion is doubly infuriating. Abortion wasn't even a Christian issue, outside of Catholicism, until the issue was hijacked by the right wing in the 1970s. So this supposedly religious person who was railing against abortion, which isn't even a problem in the Bible, is having premarital sex, and that's okay. Infuriating. It's easy to have convictions until you actually have to live by them. Like OP. This is how I learned to have less conviction and judgment. Mr. Uppercut, I am taking your quote to share with others. So I think a good lesson is to separate conviction from judgment. Conviction is willing to live by a set of standards and values. Judgment is evaluating someone else's actions based on set of standards and beliefs that they may not have even agreed to. In my opinion, if one isn't living a belief system out, it is not a conviction. And now on to the update. Sorry that it's taken me so long to update. I've been recovering. I finally broke the news that I was pro-choice to my boyfriend, like most of you suggested, because I felt guilty living a lie. Needless to say, he didn't take it well. He punched me, like straight up punched me. I could tell my nose was broken without even looking. He told me he hopes that God looks down on me and that I never get forgiveness. At that point, I didn't even tell him about the abortion. He doesn't deserve to know, and I was worried that he'd straight up murder me. He left, and I called 911. I told them what happened, and when the police arrived, they couldn't arrest him because he wasn't there. So they just took down some info and left. About an hour or so passed after my mum texts me. She tells me that she's ashamed, and she refuses to call me her daughter. I asked her if my boyfriend had told her, and she said yes. I asked her if she knew that he had also just assaulted me. She said she didn't care, and that that was not as bad as the punishment the Lord had waiting for me. I'm safe now though. With the help of a distant friend from high school, I got some stuff packed and left the apartment. My mum sent me a screenshot of a Facebook post about me from our church group. You can probably imagine what was said. I blocked her and everyone that interacted. My ex-boyfriend got arrested as well. I don't have a lot of info at the moment about that, but I haven't bothered to keep up. But I guess this is my karma for my wrongdoings in life. That's it. Thanks for those who offered support and advice. And now in the comments, so your boyfriend was okay with you two living together, having premarital sex, and apparently assault is fine, but you being pro-choice is where he drew the line. I'm glad you blocked them. This is not a healthy relationship. Convenient, right? Love thy neighbor. Unless thy neighbor doesn't hold the exact same belief system as yourself, then punch her in the face. If God is going to be judging anyone, it's your woman-beating piece of crap ex and your piece of crap mother. Agreed. Screw them and the snotty-ass judgmental church group talking crap about OP on social media. Bunch of hypocrites. This is why people have reservations about strong religious beliefs that interfere with others' personal choices. It's all love and butterflies until one of their own does something that they disagree with, and then they either change their mind, which is okay, or turn violent and hateful, which is not okay. I'm sorry that you've gone through this. This isn't your karma, and you didn't deserve to be assaulted or disowned. If anything, it can be the start of a new, refreshing life for you. Wait. He is so staunch in his religious beliefs that he would punch a woman he loves for even thinking abortion is okay, but he's perfectly fine with having unprotected premarital sex with that same woman. Somehow, it's always the woman who is the sinner in those situations. A dude has never been called used goods, even when all the other dudes know that he's had one or more partners. Some abusive men are very keen to get their partners pregnant and thus render them dependent. When she told him she was pro-choice now, what he heard was, "I've decided to deprive you of a method of controlling me." Normally, I hate all the psychoanalysis that can happen in the comments here, but anyone who could punch their partner for having a different opinion is absolutely, without a doubt, insanely controlling. I totally agree with you. Am I the asshole for being mad that someone revealed my pregnancy at a family gathering? My boyfriend Lucas and I learned that I was pregnant 2 weeks ago. I'm currently a little bit more than 1.5 months pregnant. We were not trying, and it was an accident, so we're a little lost. We are at a point in life where we considered the possibility of kids, but we never decided anything. Right now, the only people who know are some of our closest friends. I'm not gonna lie, it has been some intense and stressful couple of weeks. Yesterday evening we had a family gathering. It's my uncle's birthday this weekend, so he and his wife rented a big house. We all went yesterday night, and we were supposed to stay until tomorrow. It was also the opportunity to have all the family and close friends reunited together. Yesterday night, we all had dinner together. It was a buffet, so everyone was standing and talking. The real meal was supposed to be today at noon. Lucas and I thought that it would be a way to take our mind off things. Keep in mind that at this point, nobody at this event knew. So yesterday, we were all catching up when my cousin came to introduce his new girlfriend Anna to us. I see my cousin often, so we only talked a little. After a while, however, Anna came back to us and did not leave me alone. She kept talking to me, cutting other people off, and trying to make me drink to have fun. I told her that I was not a drinker, which is true, especially at family gathering, and I tried to make her understand that I wanted to talk to other people. At one point, Lucas got fed up and went outside. She again tried to give me a drink, and this time when I told her no, she asked in a teasing manner if I was pregnant. I froze up, and before I could say something to her, she started telling me that she was happy for me. I told her that nobody knows, and her answer was, "Oh my god, this is such a good opportunity to tell your family." And then she made a toast and told everyone. Everything happened so quickly that I couldn't stop her. Everyone came to congratulate me, and I started getting overwhelmed and cried. My cousin went to get Lucas, who came for me, and we left to go to our rooms. A lot of people tried to follow us, but he explained that we needed some time. Later, he went out and told people that we didn't want everyone to know yet. They left us alone for the night. This morning we went for breakfast, and a lot of family members called me dramatic for leaving the night before. I tried to explain that Anna had no right to tell people and that we didn't want people to know. They got mad at us, saying that at one point or another they would have to know, and that I should not have kept it a secret, and that I should be thankful for Anna so that we could all celebrate. We lost it and went home. My family kept calling and texting us. They said that we overreacted, that we spoiled the good news, and that we ruined the weekend for everyone. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. My family thinks that I shouldn't be mad at Anna because she had good intentions. I'm also thinking that maybe we should not have left. We were stressed and maybe we should have tried to speak to everyone. It was supposed to be a happy weekend. Maybe I did in fact overreact. I don't think you overreacted to this situation. Anna was harassing you, Anna kept pressuring you to drink when you made it obvious that you didn't want to drink, and then she made a stretch that unfortunately was right that you were pregnant. Then on top of that, Anna didn't have the social sense to realize, oh, maybe this is something they don't want to share yet, maybe I should stay out of this private business, and then is like, hey world, guess what, these guys are pregnant. Let's just ignore the fact that we could lose the child before the first trimester, and just go straight ahead. But hey, you know, I'm not the one that's pregnant, I'm Anna, and I have no brain. Haha, aren't I so quirky and funny? I think the family has no right to be mad at you here. I think you had the right to privacy, you had that taken from you, and then the family has reacted and taken Anna's side. Very questionable behavior from everyone but you guys. I respect your decision to leave, not the arsehole. Now in the comments, not the arsehole. As a non-drinker, I can say right now that Anna was already the asshole for not respecting the fact that you don't drink and just leaving it at that. People like that are so annoying. This is entirely her fault. She should have respected your boundaries from the beginning, but she didn't. You deserve an apology from her. If someone doesn't want to drink, they don't have to give you an explanation why. I'm not even touching the pregnancy announcement part of it. It is so obviously wrong, it doesn't need any more commentary. Not the asshole OP. Like this commenter said, she owes you an apology. I'm sorry this happened to you. Not the asshole. In what world does Anna live? Completely crossed so many boundaries. People like her depend on other people not wanting to confront her insane rudeness, and your family going that hard after you? If you decide you don't want to be pregnant anymore, make sure to tell your family it was the stress of that evening that caused a miscarriage. They all suck. How dare she? Not the asshole. Not only is Anna the asshole, but also your family members. It is so difficult when someone is way out of line like that, and then people add insult to injury by saying BS like, you should be grateful they did that. No, it was out of line and none of her business. Not only that, OP is only 6 weeks along. Most people in my experience only start announcing pregnancy after the first trimester because the risk of issues goes down at that point. And what if she decided she doesn't want to keep the pregnancy? Now she's been put in a position where she has to explain that or cover it up to her family, especially if they are the sort to deride her for it. What a complete asshole move for every single facet of an outcome. And now on to the update. So we have an update for our situation. First of all, we all want to thank all of you. We didn't answer the comments, but we did read all of them, and it felt really great to have that much people supporting and encouraging us. It really made us feel better when we were in a bad place. Now for the original issue. Everything with our family was a huge mess and a big misunderstanding. To explain, we need a little bit of context. A few years ago, someone in our family made a pregnancy April Fool's joke. It went badly, especially for the close family members. The family dinner happened Friday, 1st of April, and apparently in my family, everyone thought that our pregnancy announcement was a really elaborate April Fool's prank made by me, my boyfriend, my cousin, and Anna. When me and my boyfriend left to go to our room, they thought we were being dramatic to better sell the joke. They were quite angry at us for doing this kind of prank at such an important event, so they decided to try to teach us a lesson by being as obnoxious as possible regarding us and the pregnancy. They thought that everything we were saying was us being dramatic for the prank. It is when we really left Saturday morning that they realized something was wrong. They asked my cousin and Anna what was happening and told them that the prank was going too far. I guess it's when they realized that everything was real. They tried to call us all day, but we had shut everything off. My father, who is no longer with my mom so he wasn't at that weekend, came to our house to explain everything and give us an email that my family wrote. Long story short, they yelled at Anna and kicked her out. My cousin also immediately broke up with her. In the email, they explained that they were horrified by everything that happened and that they were really sorry. They told us that we should take all the time we needed away from them and that they hoped that we could forgive them. They also all said that they were here to support and help us no matter what we decided to do with the pregnancy. Since then, we talked to a few of them and we saw my mum and my cousin. We still need time, but reading this mail and talking to some of them really helped. We really could see that they are sincere, not pressuring us in any way, and ready to be here for us no matter what. It is not an ideal situation for Lucas and me, but it honestly made us feel closer. I don't know how to explain, but it made us realize that we could really count and support on each other in a tough situation. As of right now, we are leaning on going forward with the pregnancy, so we really thank you all for your well wishes towards it. And now in the comments, wow, that Anna though is an obnoxious piece of work. How dare she do what she did? I'm glad your cousin broke up with her. It's nice your family wrote you a letter and is giving you time. Take it at your own pace, but soon maybe re-own the moment and do it over. Throw a happier celebration about the pregnancy that will wipe out the first memory. Sounds like their family would be more than happy to help make that memory happen. I'm willing to bet that Anna was not remorseful up front when confronted and tried very hard to justify her asshole behavior. Effing up once, even badly, is not necessarily grounds for a breakup. Fighting taking responsibility and ridiculous rationalization and justification of something obviously wrong is though. What I want to know is why the hell Anna was so up your butt to the point she was shoving people away from you, and then announced your pregnancy after trying to shove drinks down your throat. What a nut. Since OP said she sees her cousin often, I wonder if maybe they are close to one another. Maybe Anna thought she'd try to ingratiate herself to OP by becoming instant besties with her, and then decided to announce the pregnancy so she'd kind of cement her place in the family by being part of a big event like that. That's the only reason I can think of for this baffling behavior, which was completely screwed up. My mother-in-law shared my wife's pregnancy as well, under the guise of asking for prayers in a Wednesday class. Totally caught us off guard, since we explicitly told her only our parents knew, and they were told the same thing, not to tell anyone, since my wife had a delicate pregnancy and anything can happen. We don't want to be put on the spot where we announce our pregnancy, and if my wife has a miscarriage, deal with all the people trying to be worried about us. Her only response? I just wanted our friends to pray for you. The amount of stress my wife got for all the congratulations and unsolicited sharing of life experiences and pregnancy tips was too much for her that OB decided to put her on bed rest for the whole first trimester. It's not anyone's place to share someone else's pregnancy other than the pregnant couple themselves, period. Our next post is titled, I, 31 female, got pregnant from a one-night stand. So I had a one-night stand with a guy a month ago. I met him at a bar and we went to my home. I haven't been with anyone since then. When I missed my period, I decided to do a test and it was positive. We used a condom, but it still happened. I haven't had a romantic partner in a long time. I have been thinking about having children for some time, and I feel like the universe decided it for me. I have a great career and am okay with being a single mother. I will have the kid. But I don't know if I should tell the father. What if he doesn't want it? I also don't know who he is. The only thing I know about him is his first name. Will I have any legal problems in the future if I don't tell him? If I need to find him, how should I do it? I live in the US. And now in the comments, I am reacting to this because this is my life. I am the child that you are carrying right now. I lived my life not knowing a single speck of info about my dad. I am a grown man now who grew up with just my mum. I never knew who my dad was, not even first name. Let me start with something that I can easily get out of the way, because I don't have the capacity to answer them entirely, so I will get those out quicker. Legally, if the name of the father is not written down on the birth certificate, there won't be able legal effect of the guy not knowing that you had his child. Please correct if wrong. I never needed any medical history from my father's side because thankfully I am healthy. I lasted this long on God's given earth, only being sent to the hospital once. Then you're gonna probably ask, then why are you answering my post? Because those are the questions that I need answered. I'm answering and reacting to your post because raising a child as a single parent takes more than just being able to financially support it. You will need to supply the love and support that normally two people give. You will be the lone source of those crucial things that your child will need. But don't give up. You'll be able to help nurture the child to be the best person your child can be. Your child will want to see you in every event of his or her life because there are just only two of you and your child. You will feel exhausted at some point from all the needy things that your child will be doing. I'm telling you now to be extra patient. You don't have a partner that will be able to cover for you from time to time, so please be patient with him/her. Maybe in time you'll have a fit of anger and will want to say something that you might regret down the line, so try to be patient. Basically, the reason why I felt I had to answer and react to your post was not because I can answer your questions, but I wanted to share with you some of the life experiences that a child of a single mother went through, not through another mother's eyes, but through the child's eyes. As I was typing this, I had several back and forths with myself, if I should post this. But my wife said it might become something useful to you, so we decided to post it. Also, by no ways or means am I saying that you will not find another partner and will just be a single parent forever like my mum. It's just that your post right now hit really close to home, and I just felt the need to react to it. You should tell the father. He deserves to know that he will have a kid out there. You'll have to accept that he may want in also, even if you are not asking for child support, etc. Just these two things, OP. Make sure to let him know everything that you have stated in your original post though, as letting him know you were not asking for any child support is crucial in how he will react. Also, he probably won't be able to make any decisions immediately, and if he does, then you should expect that it will change. These kinds of moments are huge, and as a single guy at 30, it could go either way for me in terms of wanting to be a part of the kid's life. Child support is a right of the child, not the parent. She might not want to pursue child support, but she should give the father the opportunity to financially support his child, and the child is entitled to the support of their parent. This is especially important if OP were ever to have her financial situation change. And now on to the update. So I went back to the bar yesterday and talked to the bartender. She told me that he was a regular, so I waited there until he came. He was surprised when I told him that I wanted to talk to him in private. He freaked out initially when I told him that I was pregnant, but calmed down when I said he didn't have to be involved in any way. He was very nice after that. He asked me multiple times if I was okay being a single mother, and told me parenting was hard but worth it. He told me that his wife was divorcing him, and that the proceedings started a few months ago. They had 2 children but grew apart, and the divorce was hitting him hard emotionally. We talked for a few hours, and when I told him that I wanted him to terminate his parental rights, he agreed. I wanted to talk about the amount of prejudice against single parenting that I saw in the comments of my original post. I knew it was a thing, but I didn't think that it was this widespread. There were many comments saying the kid would have a bad childhood if there aren't two parents. This is a huge misconception, and you people need to let go of it. The number of parents doesn't matter, only the parenting does. I'm going to be a single mother by choice. My parents and close friends know that I've been contemplating being a single mother for some time, and they're okay with it and support me. I'm telling people I got pregnant through a sperm donor. Like I said in the original post, I have a great career, I work pretty high up in my organization, and have a very flexible schedule. I can't wait to be a mother. I want to thank all the people who replied with helpful advice on my previous post without judging my choices. And now in the comments, I do hope she talked to him about health history. Important to know family health history in terms of screening for diseases, even as a child or adult. Some people have family history of early colon cancer and need to start screening early. Best of luck to her and her child. I hope everything works out for her. It sounds like she is certainly prepared for single motherhood, and being surrounded by supportive friends and family will definitely make things easier for her. Like my mum says, it's better to have no dad than a deadbeat dad. Same goes for deadbeat mums too. I've known a few awesome single dads. A deadbeat parent will break your heart, but at least a non-existent parent won't do you any direct harm, provided they stay non-existent. Exactly. My family has had a lot of experiences with deadbeat parents, and sometimes you kinda wish that they would just not exist. It is so much easier when they peacefully bow out, as opposed to causing pain and drama. Good on OP. I hope she and the baby are happy and healthy. I think what a lot of people are forgetting is that most single moms are not single by choice, but because of circumstances that are out of their control. And a lot of single moms who are single by choice also choose to escape bad situations, like they have no other choice. All that negativity definitely influences the parenting of a lot of the women these people are referencing to OP. OP isn't the same. She is choosing from the get-go to be a single mom, and from the looks of it, is not only capable of doing it in regards to career and living situation, but is also willing to put in the time and effort to research ways to do it successfully. And there are plenty of single moms who are forced into that position who do it successfully with happy children. I wish her and her kid all the best. Our next post is titled, Kid put his stuff in my yard, ran it over with my lawnmower, Mum wants me to pay. So my yard goes pretty close to the neighbor's concrete pad where they have a basketball court set up. Neighborhood kids always go there to play and usually leave their bikes and things on my grass. It's not that big of a deal, except I have had to ask them to move their stuff several times when I'm mowing. This is the first time that I've mowed this year, and the grass is a few inches higher than it should be. Anyway, a kid comes over, and I'm mowing, but he still puts the basketball he brought with him down in my grass. I get to the basketball, and decide I can just nudge it with the front of the mower and out of the way. I made eye contact with the kid several times, waiting for him to move it before I got there, and he never did. So I figured, whatever, it'll roll. Well, I bump it with my mower over to a section of mower grass, and as I continue forward past where it was, there was a loud clunking and crackling like I'd just run over a rock. The rock turned out to be his iPhone. He was upset, obviously, that his phone was broken, and I did feel bad, but my thought was that he should have said something or moved it before I got there. He goes home, and about 30 minutes later his mum shows up and tells me that I broke it and am responsible for replacing it. That I should have told him to move his stuff because I am the adult. I tell her I'm sorry about the phone and politely decline her request. She just says, I promise you will be paying for it, and then storms off. I'm not really sure what her next course of action is, or what she plans to do. She mentioned something about she has a friend that's a lawyer, so I guess she could take me to civil court? Am I legally responsible for replacing the phone? Would it be cheaper than the court costs if she did choose to take me to court? And now in the comments, it would be very unlikely for a court to make you pay. You couldn't see the phone and had no reason to assume that someone else's phone was hidden in your yard. The son was the one who acted negligently in leaving their phone hidden in tall grass. In fact, if you wanted to, you could probably sue for and win the cost of repairing any damage to your lawnmower. That's worth mentioning if your neighbor brings it up again. You should check your lawnmower blades for damage even if you don't plan to sue. It could be dangerous to continue using that lawnmower. A blade could snap off and hurt someone. And you asked, would it be cheaper than court costs if she did choose to take me to court? If she sues you, it will probably be in small claims court, where each party must represent themselves without a lawyer. It will only cost you your time to defend yourself. Edit, I was wrong about no lawyers, but still, I wouldn't worry about that. She would probably pay more than the cost of the phone if she tried to hire someone. And OP says, thanks for the information. I've never been to court and have always heard court costs can be expensive, but that's probably for more drawn-out cases. I checked the lawnmower right after it happened because I thought I had hit a rock. It seemed fine, but I'll give it another glance. His phone is a mangled mess though. He seemed more upset at himself. He thought that it was in his pocket and had the attitude of, man, that sucks. I actually probably would have given him a replacement newer than his was, which was a 6S, as I have an iPhone 7 that I no longer use. But the mum kind of upset me, I guess, and made me defensive about letting her win. Depending on her attitude going forward, I might give it to him still. I haven't mentioned it to her yet, but if she apologizes, I would give it to him. If not, I guess I'll see her in court. Everyone has a friend that's a lawyer. When they're really mad, they have a relative that's a lawyer. You're fine. In the unlikely event they really know a lawyer, said lawyer will tell them they don't have a case. And now on to the update. I thought I'd update you all since so many people offered advice in the original post yesterday. Well, she, the mother and son, showed up at my door around noon and apologized. She said that she misunderstood what happened and thought that I'd done it on purpose to teach her son a lesson about leaving his stuff in my yard. I guess he explained to her that it was his fault, which I thought was commendable for someone his age. She told me that she just stressed about it because she's a single mother and doesn't really have the means to replace it at the moment, and that if it was anything else, she probably wouldn't have gotten so upset. But he likes hanging out with other kids, and that's how she keeps track of him. I told her about my spare phone, iPhone 7, and I also took the advice of some of the commenters that it might be damaging to just give it to him, and that I should perhaps have him work for it. I have a detached garage and have been needing to clean it, and told her that if he wanted to help me, I'd give him the phone. He instantly looked excited. I imagine he felt like he'd never get a new phone, and she acted very grateful and said he could help. Left and came back an hour later. Just the son this time, and we got started cleaning. Took about 4 hours. A lot of work, but nothing too hard, as he's just 12. I had a couple of cords of firewood that I wanted moved out and stacked into a rack, and then a bunch of boxes I cut up and had him bag and carry to the curb. He swept, had a Coke and a couple slices of pizza, and then got his phone. I had a talk with him about paying attention to where his things are, and because it won't always work out like this. I also told him that if he wanted to mow my yard every weekend, and his mum says he can, I'll pay him $30 a week. It'll probably take him a couple of hours. He again acted excited at the thought of making money, and when I asked him what he'd spend it on, he said games. We figured out new games would be about $60, and worked it out that I'd pay him $20 for 3 weeks, and then $65 on the 4th week so he could cover tax, because it might be hard for him to save. The 4th week, he will do an extra little chore to cover the $5, like sweep off the porch or walkway. I hope I've done the right thing and didn't make him think that everything just works out, but I did my best to have him earn it, and hopefully showed an equal measure of kindness that he will carry with him. I also didn't want the mother to stress over replacing the phone, as my mum was also a single mother, and I know how tough it can be. My own son is just 2, so it was my first real opportunity to pass on some fatherly wisdom, which I hope is what I did. Thank you for your input, everyone. I really appreciate it. And now in the comments, wow, I love how well this turned out. It's a breath of fresh air, as most things on this sub take some wild turns. The kid correcting the mother and informing her that it was his fault instead of manipulating her, which I don't feel would be outlandish for a 12-year-old. The mother coming over and apologizing, and OP having a spare phone to give the kid. There is good in this world. That's a good kid. Wholesome situation all round. Mum gets some help, kid gets some summer income, and maybe a fatherly figure. OP should invite the neighbors over for dinner or something. It's good parenting too. The kid clearly felt he could talk to his mother and that he wouldn't be vilified for having made a mistake or things being misunderstood. That takes a lot on the part of the parent. OP may have changed the kid's life. His carelessness led to a bad outcome, yes, but he did the right thing and great opportunities came about as a result. But he has to work hard to get them, it is not just handouts. How is this going to shape how he approaches school or future jobs? And one day, decades from now, when he meets some kid who screws up, he will think of OP and remember how much it meant to have some guy give him a chance. When people say it takes a village to raise a child, this is the kind of thing they're talking about. The entire event hinges on the child admitting that he lied. It's a two-way street. It takes good parenting to raise a child who can admit when they lie. Without that, the village never gets a chance. I, 32 female, cheated on my wife and I feel terrible. How should I proceed? My wife Rita and I have been married for 4 years and we dated for 2 years before that. I mostly do freelance stuff from home and she owns a business with her best friend. Their business has always meant a lot to Rita, to the point where I sometimes think she has tied her self-worth to its success. When COVID hit and all the lockdown stuff happened, it hit the business hard. It took over Rita's life. She would spend a lot of her days there without coming home. Even when she came home, she was very tired and didn't have any time for us. This went on for months until things started looking up, but the next waves hit and the whole thing started again. Before this whole thing, we had a good marriage. We were open and spent a lot of time with each other. So when she stopped spending time with me, it hit me hard. I was understanding and didn't bother her. I took care of things at home and looked after her, but even after her business started doing better, she still spent most of her time there. I tried talking to her about it, but she would spend a few days at home and go back there. I even tried taking her on vacation, but she was distracted and worried about her work. All of this left me feeling isolated. I felt like I was the only one putting effort into our marriage. Almost 2 months ago, I met an especially beautiful and charming woman at the gym. I don't know why, but I told her I was single. She asked me out for coffee, and I was swept up in the whole thing. 2 weeks after meeting each other regularly, she invited me back to her home and we had sex. The magnitude of the thing I did hit me the next day. I felt guilty and terrible. I decided that I needed to get a divorce. I stopped going to the gym and I broke up with her. When I started getting things in order to file for divorce, Rita came home and told me that she hired someone to take over for her. She even booked a surprise vacation for us. She started spending a lot more time at home. I kept postponing my divorce after this sudden change, even though I still felt guilty. She started taking an active role in our life after almost 2 years, and our marriage has healed significantly. I know what I did was terrible. I'm not defending myself. I don't know how to proceed now. The guilt is eating at me every day. I'm so afraid of losing her when I just got her back. How do I tell her? You can either take the lie to your grave, as a lot of people I'm sure do. I personally don't condone it, and I would hope that you don't do it. I think you should just confess to what you've done, talk it through, go to counseling if they want to do that. But really, if you went to those lengths to cheat, I do think it is best that you guys go your separate ways. The big thing I'm seeing here is that you didn't communicate with her while those 2 years were going on, that you were upset and that you weren't feeling the marriage. From the way that you've written the post, it makes it seem as though you bottled up all these emotions and your outlet was cheating. But hey, that's me reading your post. You obviously can leave a lot of information out. You can lie, who knows? But now to the comments. Confess and leave. She deserves better. I'm sorry. I don't think you were truly sorry. I mean, why did you have to tell us the affair partner was especially beautiful and charming? I mean, come on. When you tell your wife, are you going to tell her that also? You're just guilty because your wife was able to get the free time and planned this vacation for y'all. Tell her the truth. She deserves to make an informed decision about her future. Things were tough and you reacted by cheating. What happens when you hit the next rough spot? Will you take solace in another woman again? You tried talking to her? What does that mean? You felt isolated. Did you ever tell her? Did you tell your cheating partner the truth? Or did you just leave her wondering what the heck happened? I know, right? OP, you took many words to say you basically met a hot woman at the gym, had sex with her once behind your wife's back, and then ghosted her. Regardless of the problems that you had in your marriage, I'm sure you could have worked on things by having an honest conversation with your wife. You have treated both women appallingly. Tell your wife what a selfish cheat you are and let her be free of you. Tell her, then let her decide. Personally, I don't think all cheaters are horrible people. There are many emotional deficiencies in a relationship that lead to cheating, and two people usually contribute to a situation like that. My point is, that cheating doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a bad husband at the moment, but not a terrible person. However, hiding this from your wife and not respecting her ability to make choices for herself that are informed means you are using her as a means to an end and not respecting her choice-making capacity. That would make you a bad person. Better to be honest and lose it all than be with someone who maybe wouldn't want to be if they knew everything. And now, onto the update. I confessed to my wife after my previous post. It was a very nerve-wracking process. I couldn't live with the guilt. She told me she knew about it already. The cafe I went to with the other woman was owned by a friend of Rita's. She recognized me and told Rita about it when we kissed. Rita told me that it was her wake-up call. She was worried about losing me and wanted to make an effort before she lost me completely. That was why she hired someone to replace her in a hurry and suddenly started spending more time with me. Rita was angry when I told her I slept with the other woman. I told her how guilty I felt about the whole thing. We both cried when I told her that I was about to file for a divorce. I told her the whole story and how I felt. We cried a lot that evening. We started seeing a marriage counselor after that. The sessions and the healing process have been difficult, but the whole thing has made our bond stronger and reinvigorated our love for each other. We have been spending so much quality time together, and our marriage is in a way better place. Both of us are women, by the way. My original post wasn't very popular and didn't get much traction, but I wanted to make this post because cheating doesn't have to be the end of a relationship. I know that I was the cheating partner, and I have no right to say this. I wouldn't have blamed Rita if she had decided to leave me, but I'm happy that she didn't. And yes, I told the other woman that I was married and apologized to her. And now in the comments, you don't deserve her. You need to vocalize how it's not her fault, and the blame lay entirely with you, unless it was your aim to gaslight her. I feel sorry for the gym woman. She met a seemingly nice single woman, they hung out a lot, had sex, and then she dumped her. I wonder if she's been on the dating sub, wondering what she did wrong, or why people do this, etc. Opie seems to feel no remorse at all about how she treated her. She was just a side note as far as she was concerned. I thought the same thing. She was just treated as a placeholder until Opie's primary relationship was corrected. Poor woman didn't even know why. It's always better to go to marriage counseling after destroying your marriage. Doesn't work the other way, it seems. If this is in the US, it can be difficult to justify the cost of couples counseling when you feel you're in a good place. Also, while getting better, we don't exactly have a positive culture around counseling and mental health care. If we were fed as kids to adults that being in therapy before there are issues should be the norm, then I think we would see less of these circumstances, or repairs attempted after the big problem occurred. Same for individual therapy. Still a thought process that therapy is only for people with huge issues. This is absolutely the case for individual therapy as well. People rarely go before they're on the brink of a crisis or worse, which makes navigating the soul-crushing US mental health care system even more difficult. In a country where less and less people even have a PCP every year, it's not surprising that it's rare for couples to go to counseling until they're contemplating divorce. Who can afford that, or even knows where to get it? Our next post is titled, "Am I the asshole for telling my friend's girlfriend that I am not her friend?" So I and my friend Jake have been friends since my freshman year of college. When the fall semester started, he told me that he got a girlfriend. I was excited for him and asked who the lucky girl was. He told me her name was Catherine and showed me a picture of her. I instantly recognized her as my middle school bully. A couple of things she did to me was, made fun of my physical features such as my hair and skin tone, as I'm black, told me several times and in front of others that I'm too ugly for anyone to like, spread around the rumor that I was pregnant, resulting in me losing several friends. Afterward, Jake would sometimes bring Catherine when we were playing games in the basement at a library. She seemed like she has changed for the better since middle school, but I just couldn't bring myself to be around her. We would have small talk here and there, but I just avoided her because I didn't want to interact with her too much. I told Jake that Catherine seemed nice, but I wasn't vibing with her. He was a little sad since he wanted us to be friends, but he understood. Here is where I might be the asshole. I'm on winter break, so I decided to go to the mall. I bumped into Catherine and Jake there. They were with two other people. Jake saw me and waved for me to come over. He introduced them as his siblings, and he told me that they were with Catherine to hang out. Before I could introduce myself, Catherine told them my name and stated that I was the friend that she was talking about. I immediately said, "No, we are not friends." Jake's siblings then look at me with a surprised look. She huffed and said that I couldn't possibly still be holding what she did in middle school over her head, that she has changed since that time and she was just a kid. I told her that is exactly the reason why I can't be friends with her, and she sneered at me. She then called me a resentful B-word and walked away. Jake apologized to me for the scene that Catherine just made, and he and his siblings went after her. I told my friend what happened, and she told me that I shouldn't have snapped like that, and just pretended to be her friend because I made the whole group feel embarrassed. After she said that, I felt like an asshole because I had already forgiven Catherine for my peace of mind. I just couldn't bring myself to ever be friends with her, as she did a lot to hurt me. Am I the asshole? I don't think you're an asshole for that one. I mean, if she was remorseful for her actions, she would have apologized. She would have brought this up with you before because obviously she knows what she's done. Yet it seems like she went through the whole process of, getting with him, dating, and eventually, becoming his girlfriend, knowing that you were his friend, and that whole time staying in the dark and never being like, hey, him and I are becoming a thing. I need to apologize for my past actions because I really feel bad about it. What can I do to help fix our relationship? Instead, she becomes a flaming Karen at the mall, sneers at you, calls you a bitch, walks away, doesn't take ownership for her actions. Genuinely, who do you think you are, Catherine? Do flowers come out of your asshole every time you fart? Can you do no evil, Catherine? You are delusional. You are evil. I do not like you. Props to OP for standing your ground here. I respect you a lot, and I don't think you're the asshole for this one. You're not letting people walk all over you, as she was trying to do, so good job. And now in the comments, not the asshole at all. Catherine never apologized for what she did, and to be honest, her bullying sounds a lot more like racism than just regular middle school mean girl bullshit, so the fact that she's trying to brush it off is just gross. You were completely in the right for saying that you were not friends, and your friend who said you should have just kept the peace should have kept their mouth shut. Make it clear to those around you that what Catherine did wasn't just ignoring you in the halls or not inviting you to her birthday party. Your friends need to know the scope of what she did and how she hurt you. Not the asshole. It sounds like she never even attempted to make amends for the racist bullying that she did to you when you were in school together. There is no reason for you to want to be friends with her after what she has done. If she wants to be friends with you, the least she could have done was apologize for her past bad behavior and acknowledge that what she did was wrong. The just a kid argument doesn't hold any water. Middle schoolers are old enough to know right from wrong. And you said she sneered at you, called you a resentful B-word and walked away. She clearly hasn't changed. Not the asshole. She is still a bully. She was trying to use you by claiming you were friends to make herself look good because she knows you were friends with her new boyfriend. When you clarified that you aren't actually friends, she verbally attacked you and tried to make it seem like you were the problem. This is textbook gaslighting and bullying. Not the asshole. She may well have fully changed since middle school, but that does not negate the damage she did to you emotionally, to your self-confidence, and general well-being. Things like that happen at that age, stick with you for the rest of your life. I'm still, at 47, dealing with the insecurity caused by people like Catherine when I was elementary and middle school aged. You do not have to be her friend, nor do you have to forgive her for that. You can be civil, which it sounds like you have, but only for the sake of your friendship with Jake. But you don't have to be friends with her at all. Info. Did she ever hash it out or apologize? And OP says, nope, not once did she ever apologize for what she put me through. What she pulled got so bad that I had to change schools in the 8th grade to get away from her. Does your friend know this? Does he know that she was so bad that it caused you to change schools? And OP says, I never told him because I thought I didn't have to. I truly thought she had changed and didn't want to jeopardize her relationship with my friend. She looked genuinely happy with him, and it didn't sit right with me to explain to Jake what she did to me in middle school. You need to. He's probably going to ask what that thing was about, so you have the full opportunity to tell him the whole story. And now, on to the update. Hey guys, it's been a while, so I wanted to give y'all an update. Thank you guys for all of your nice words. You guys made me realize that Catherine hasn't changed, and I shouldn't feel bad for setting the record straight. A lot of you told me that I should talk to Jake about what she pulled, and I did. A week after I posted on Reddit, I decided to call him and ask if we could meet up and talk about the mole incident. He said of course, and we met up later that day. It was honestly a bit nerve-wracking because I just don't like talking about it, but ultimately, Jake does deserve the truth about the person he is dating. When we met up, I told him about all the bullying in the past and the trauma that Catherine put me through. I apologized for not sharing this information about her sooner because I valued our friendship and I didn't want to get in the way because I thought she had changed for the better. Jake thanked me for my apology and told me that he appreciates that I was trying to look out for him. He then apologized for putting me in that kind of situation and told me that I didn't have to worry about Catherine anymore. I asked what he meant, and Jake told me that shortly after they got back from the mall, they got into a huge argument. Apparently, Jake tried to inquire more about what happened between us in middle school, and she refused to say anything. I'm guessing that she didn't want to make herself look bad, and Jake said that he had this gut feeling that she must have done something to hurt me in the past, so he decided to ultimately break up with her. She broke into tears and asked why, and he told her that he couldn't be with someone who lies about things like friendship. He also finds her reaction to my honesty to be disrespectful, and if she was going to act like that if someone exposes her lies, he wasn't going to be the one to put up with it. Jake took her home, and he told me that she was going from being passive-aggressive and whiny to ugly sobbing. It was a mess. As soon as Jake got home, he blocked her and hasn't heard or seen her since, which is good. After we finished talking about Catherine, we decided to get some ice cream and talk about games instead. As for her, I haven't seen Catherine on campus since. Have no idea what happened to her, but kinda hope it stays like that. I truly hope she does become better. It just won't be at my expense. Again, thank you guys so much for the insightful comments on my original post. It means a lot. And now in the comments, at least you told him so there was no misunderstandings. She never changed. It just got easier for her to hide her true personality. I hope you and Jake stay friends for a long time. That's a great friend you have on your hands. A lot of people would throw their friends away for their partner, no matter what they did. I'm glad he stood up for you, and he wins too, because he got rid of someone who tries to bury their past through lies, instead of atoning for it. Good for you for telling him. Jake sounds like a good friend and a smart cookie for seeing through and not putting up with Catherine's bullcrap. All the best to you, OP. Go Jake for being a great friend, and good on you for being upfront about what happened to him. I'm glad everything worked out for you, OP. If she really had changed, she wouldn't have called OP a resentful cow. Not even. She would have gotten up immediately at the first introduction and profoundly apologized. In elementary school, my neighbor was from an extremely conservative Christian family. She went to private school and was pretty sheltered. Not allowed to read fantasy books and stuff like that. But still, we played together all the time, didn't get in the way of playing with Barbies and stuff. But more than once, she would say things like me and my family are going to hell for not going to church, and would sometimes be pretty cruel. Anyway, they moved to another neighborhood, and I didn't see her again until high school when she moved to public school. I think the transition to public school was pretty rough for her, but after a year or so, one day she pulled me aside and apologized for everything she said to me as kids. She said she had acted like a real cow and knows better now. It was a long but good conversation. That's what a real apology looks like. That's because she went out into the world and found out that the bigoted, fear-mongering, brainwashing things her mummy and daddy taught her about other people were lies. I'm sure her parents cry on the daily about no longer being able to manipulate their daughter. Love a good redemption arc. I remember that one of my friends messed with me bad for a time in middle school. At one point, it came up, as we hadn't talked about it for ages, and she remembered what she did and said, "I'm sorry, I was such an utter cow back then." Perfect. I didn't bring it up, she did, and she did change a lot in the meantime. Jake dodged a bullet there. Just the fact that the bully clearly remembered what happened but never bothered to apologize says she has never grown up. I can so easily picture being Jake in this scenario. Mall event happens and red flags start shooting out of her ass like a machine gun. Nope, no thank you. I'll be taking you home now. Later. Our next post is titled, "Today I effed up by moving in with psychopaths." I really screwed up. First off, I'm a 23-year-old girl. I don't know how relevant that is. So about 2 months ago, I found myself with no money after having to put hundreds of dollars into my poor car over the course of 5 months. Brakes and rotors were replaced, master cylinder replaced, water pump busted and had to be fixed, serpentine belt, etc. Finally, the head gasket blew, and I had spent all of my savings on my car right when I lost my job. I was working at a bookstore that was due to close on July 4th. I had another job lined up working for the online portion of the store, but my boss wasn't going to bring me on to start packing, shipping, and listing for another month, and I was truly out of money. A friend from high school, I'm calling her Jamie, had been insisting on me moving out to California to work on her cannabis farm with her for about a year. She offered to pay for my plane ticket, told me I had a room, and told me that I would be making $15 an hour full-time. It was the best pay that I'd ever been offered. I graduated high school, but I didn't attend college. But I didn't want to do it simply because it was so far away from my comfort zone and everything that I valued most. I don't have a bunch of friends, and this was the year that I cut off all of the toxic people out of my life, as far as I could tell before this particular incident. But the friends that I do have are incredibly important to me and have dragged me out of some of my darkest moments. I knew that I couldn't prioritize my friends in this situation. It was officially about saving my own ass. Well, having absolutely no money, I started to feel like a burden to my mother, whom I had been living with for a year, to get back on my feet. It was working just fine. I saved up a good amount of money and finally bought a car, but you know what ended up happening with the car. I was supposed to save up and get an apartment by August, but my car is where all of my money went. In addition to gas, food, and necessities, with the occasional small weed purchase, maybe a gram for $20 once a month. And I get it, $20 is a lot for a G, but welcome to St. Louis. Times are hard. Basically, I found myself feeling like moving out here was the best option. Good money, awesome friend that I made a lot of cool memories with in high school, etc., and it started to sound more and more attractive the more I thought about it. I had a long talk with her, and she booked me a ticket. Not before I verified that her operation was legal, that I'd have my own room and private space, that I'd have a job, and that I would like her husband. She verified all of these things with confidence, and I flew out. This was 3 weeks ago. I'd like to point out before this next part that I'm a skeptic by design, and I made damn sure that I was certain it was a good idea before coming out. She and I talked every day until I flew out, and I never would have gathered that anything was out of the ordinary. Well, the first night, I learned that none of the above would be true. This friend of mine somehow managed to lose her mind over the last 3 years it's been since she moved to California. First off, she's married to a psychotic ex-homeless person that I'll call Jack. She just met this guy on the beach and fell in love. Got married pretty much instantly. I never would have pinned her as that sort of girl, but I quickly learned that she had changed. I couldn't stand her husband from the get-go, as he was clearly on some whole other level of crazy. He interrupts every 3 seconds, as he only likes to listen to himself talk. He's obsessed with the Illuminati and a bunch of other conspiracies. GMO hate, FEMA concentration camps, you name it. He is incredibly condescending and pretentious about his beliefs. They are both anti-vaxxers and very animated about it. I learned that on the second day. He's incredibly disrespectful and oblivious to the way his words and actions affect others. Oh, and he's a crybaby about everything. Still, I sucked it up. I had already flown out here and I was already stuck. Second, I have no room or private space. My bedroom is a mattress pad on the floor in the corner of the kitchen. I still sucked it up because I'm not about to be ungrateful about where I'm sleeping. But then I discovered that, lo and behold, they have 2 kittens, and the litter box is in the kitchen about 10 feet away from my bed. Still didn't complain because again, I'm stuck out here anyway. Third, I found out on day 2 that her husband is growing an insane amount of psilocybin mushrooms. Illegal, not cool. Still didn't care because I figured they weren't under any pressure from the law. Well, that isn't true either, because I then found out that not only is Jamie on parole, but her parole officer organized a raid of their house just a week before I flew out, when my ticket was already paid for. They found nothing because all of their illegal things are located elsewhere in the vicinity, but apparently that crap can happen any time. Fourth, no cell service here, so no way to call or text my friends and family that I'm really close to, unless they had iPhones and I was able to catch a Wi-Fi signal on the phone, which is rare. I had to reactivate my Facebook, as I despise Facebook, just to keep in touch with my loved ones because they do have a weak Wi-Fi signal here, but that was the least of my worries. Obviously, I didn't consider that too awful until I realized how bad things would be out here. Fifth, their plants are illegal. She told me that in this particular area, you can have X amount of plants. She has got a lot more than that. I had no idea until she saw me taking pictures to send to my close friends. She then acted like she had told me all along that this was an illegal operation. I still have the texts to verify that this is not the case, but I didn't want to throw that in her face because I'd realized by now that nothing about this is stable. I'll stop numbering my points now. We got in a fight over the picture I took that night. She went into full crazy mode, told me that she couldn't believe I would be so stupid, how she felt like having me out here was a mistake because of my terrible judgment, and how screwed up I was for thinking that was okay. It was my understanding that the law was not being broken. Why else would I travel across the country to live with somebody? Certainly not to be a part of something insanely illegal, but I digress. It escalated. I tried to keep a level head and explain how I've been trying to wrap my mind around this entire situation, and that I was told the opposite of just about everything that was going on here. Did I mention that our kittens have been shitting and pissing in my clothes, bed, and blankets since day one? She told me I was ungrateful, and that they had a teepee on their property that I was going to have to go live in because I was interfering with their marriage. I left out the part about Jamie making one comment to Jack that upset him so much, he threw a huge glass plate at her that then shattered all over the porch. They fought constantly, to the point that I would be inside crying and feeling sorry for myself for making such a horrible decision to come out here. I should point out, I got a job my third day here and had worked 4 days when this fight occurred. At one point in the fight, Jamie told me she was taking me to the airport to send me home and made me pack all of my things, get dressed, and walk out the door. In that period of time, I emailed my boss to tell her that I wouldn't be able to work for them anymore because I was being sent back home, and I didn't want them to not have someone to work for me in the morning. By the time Jamie changed her mind, I emailed my boss to let her know, just kidding, my roommate is just crazy, paraphrasing, and I lost my job based on my unreliable living situation. So she told me I had to go live in this teepee. No electricity, no water, bathroom, kitchen area, or anything, a glorified tent. The only thing about it that's livable is that there is a bed inside. But it gets freezing here at night and hot as F during the day. With no way to contact anyone, in the middle of the woods in a town where sex offenders and yes are apparently everywhere, I wasn't told this either, and drugged out bums roam through the woods constantly, she painted it as this perfect little place for me. It broke my heart because, well, I didn't move all the way out here to live off the grid in a tent in the woods. I have pretty much reached a point where I've got to head back to my hometown. My boss has my paycheck waiting for me at my old work, which is about $150, so I'm just trying to figure out a way to discuss this with Jamie and Jack that won't end in absolute disaster. After all, they would be the ones driving me all the way to San Francisco, which is like 2 hours away, to fly home, so I'd have to end this on good terms, which is extremely difficult when you are dealing with people that are not even remotely stable. Everything here is an argument or a test, and so many laws are being broken. I've been deprived of so many things. I haven't eaten in 3 days because I just haven't felt even a little bit of an appetite. You'd think that I'd be sitting here stoned all the time since I'm in California, but unfortunately, nah. I can't find weed to save my life, and their plants haven't fully matured. There is a lot of things that I left out, but wow, what a disaster. I guess the takeaway from this is that I'm an idiot, and I should have never assumed somebody would be the same way that they were 3 years ago prior. I don't have any idea of what's happened in the last 3 years, but she is a different human being altogether. Almost like she hit her head really hard on something and developed a whole new bizarre and terrifying personality. I couldn't have predicted this if I were getting paid to. I've kept my parents posted about this from the beginning, but I've been ashamed. I've only told 2 close friends about all of this because I feel like they're the only ones that won't think I'm a complete idiot for all of this, having known Jamie in the past. I made a lot of bold statements about how well I was going to do out here and how excited I was to make good money and set my life up pretty sweet-like. I was really looking forward to this, and every single day has been a nightmare in its own special way. I'm just hoping I can make it out of here before the law shows up and tears them open, or before they do something awful to me. I don't trust these people. I'm uncomfortable every minute that I'm around them, and if they try to move me into this teepee before I can afford my plane ticket, I'll deal with it. But I fear for my life and my sanity living in that teepee. Even if I needed one of them for something, it's a pretty long walk back to the house, so they are literally attempting to up and banish me. How they expect me to find another job is beyond me. I'm willing to work, but I am miles away from town. I had a bike, and I wanted to leave this part out, but they gave me a bike, and it ended up being a stolen bike that belonged to my coworker. That's a whole other ordeal I don't feel like going into, because this is long enough. But the bike has been returned, and I now have no transportation except for Jamie. Too bad she can't drive me anywhere if I don't even have the means to ask her for a ride, and she works an unpredictable schedule. I know this was really long, but if you do read it, please don't throw me to the flames. This has been incredibly devastating for me, and just an all-around terrifying experience, and I just want to go home. I know I screwed up, I am trying to make it right. And now in the comments, you didn't F up, you got completely screwed over. I could easily see this happening to me. You definitely need to get out of there as soon as you can. Do you have a debit card? Maybe your parents can wire you some money so you can pay for a cab to pick you up. If not, if you have a smartphone, you could set up a Google Wallet or Apple Pay. If you have a newer iPhone, to receive some money from your parents so you could pay an Uber to come pick you up. If that's not an option, you could set up a Google Wallet and request a physical card in the mail. Then somebody, hopefully your parents, can wire you some money easily so you can pay a cab or something to drive you out of there. Since they are pretty crazy and untrustworthy, I would honestly not try to ask them to help you get home unless it is your only option. If you have no other options to get home and are in extreme fear of your safety, you could go to the police maybe. Yeah, I would avoid involving either one of these people in your escape plan at all costs. Dude threw a plate at his wife for God knows what, and she's probably the person he's able to tolerate the most. Something tells me he wouldn't hesitate to get violent towards OP as well. The wife sounds like she's setting up some sort of crazy-ass commune for her batshit husband. She has no issue flying someone out to California and making a road trip to pick them up at the airport, but they are treating OP like a kidnapping victim and already banishing her to a frickin' tent in the dangerous-as-crap woods as some sort of punishment for perceived slights. And the chick doesn't seem to feel badly about this at all, which means crap like this is normal for them. It honestly gives me the creeps and seems like they're trying to break OP to get whatever their end goal is. That sounds alarmist and reaching, but I cannot think of any good or even neutral motive for being this dishonest, sneaky, and controlling over someone that this chick actively pursued getting out to her home. Get out ASAP, and don't give them a chance to try to manipulate or force you into staying. Tell your parents. They need to know how dire this situation is, and I know that I'd move mountains to get someone I love the F out of this situation. And now onto the update. There was a 24-hour period where I couldn't come back to this account. This is a throwaway for obvious reasons, and I just expected my post to have been buried during that time frame. Well, I'm an idiot, because I logged in to find hundreds of comments and messages from people that actually took the time to read my story. People offering anything from advice to bus tickets to places to stay, people from all over the country, especially dozens of fantastic California locals that proved to me that I'd just been associating with the wrong people. I still can't find the words to adequately thank those of you that came forward and wanted to help me out. Though a lot of people suggested I start a GoFundMe for myself so I could get home, I couldn't bring myself to do it. I couldn't think of a number that would have made sense to me to not make me feel like I looked selfish. After all, I didn't write that post for profit. I wrote it because I was going through the toughest experience of my life, and I dreaded even waking up in the morning. I just needed someone to talk to. I gained plenty of people to talk to, and you are all insanely awesome. That being said, there were two people in particular that came in clutch and truly saved my ass. The first Redditor I was comfortable talking in length about the situation was a software engineer living in the Bay Area who I will refer to as A, seeing as he was extremely lovable. He doesn't even use Reddit much, but he saw my story and wanted to help. He offered to pick me up and allow me to stay with him, as well as any other help that I'd need. This blew my mind because this man lived 2.5 hours away and insisted on helping me anyway, just because he's a wonderful human being. While discussing an escape plan with A, I'd been talking with another Redditor that I'll call Lee. I'll start by saying that he wishes to remain completely anonymous, so I'll leave out his profession and any other specifics. Just know that this man is also truly wonderful. His original message stated that he wanted to buy me a plane ticket. Obviously, I was resistant to just about every Redditor that offered me help in the beginning because I've always been insecure when asking for help, but both Lee and A separately calmed my nerves and insisted in helping get me out of that terrible situation regardless of my doubts. I agreed to let Lee buy me a plane ticket, and A and I decided we would arrange the kidnapping for 2:30 in the morning on Saturday, after Jamie and Jack went to sleep. Sadly, there was no plausible way to meet any other way without my roommates finding out what was going on. I didn't tell them a thing. Granted, they hadn't brought the TP situation back up in a couple days, but I knew it was coming, and I knew they wouldn't react favorably to my leaving. When Friday rolled around, I knew it was my last day, so I washed every article of clothing I'd brought with me, even if it was already clean, just to get the essence of that house out of it. There was a constant funk in the air. It didn't appear unusual to Jack or Jamie because it just looked like I was doing laundry, and plus, they ended up leaving in the early afternoon, which made it much easier for me to scan the house for anything that I'd left behind. They ended up staying out much later than anticipated. I was starting to panic when it got to be around 11 p.m, but then they finally pulled up. I was sitting outside of my laptop when Jamie walked behind me and went inside the house. Jack then came up and told me that he'd spent the afternoon cleaning out the teepee, but that they'd bought me a box of bug bombs, which I'd be responsible for administering before cleaning the spiders out of the teepee myself. I just smiled and nodded along, knowing I was leaving anyway. At the end of his speech, he said, "By the way, Jamie paid like $7 for these, so if you want to reimburse her," and then went inside. I had my $80 or so left over from my only paycheck after giving her gas money, and part of that was a few single bills. I asked her if $6 would be okay. Her response was, "Well, I was thinking more like 100, you know, for half of your ticket out here." It was her plan to take all of my check and have me move out to live in a tent with no money the next day. Nope. I lied and told her that I had a payment due that I hadn't paid yet and that I was sorry. The reality being was that that money was all that I had to make it once I arrived back in St. Louis. She believed me, although visibly frustrated, and went to sleep. A arrived on time in the most expensive car I have now ever set foot inside of in my life. It was surreal. We got my suitcase and bag into the car in about 15 seconds and took off without a single issue. It couldn't have been more perfectly timed, and A was extremely punctual, considering the confusing location of the house. I spent the weekend in his beautiful condo, and got to meet his roommates, two super cool women who, with A, were extremely polite and hospitable to me considering that I was clearly doing far worse than them in every possible category. Just excellent people all around. They made the bizarre nature of my situation much more palatable with their kindness. Plus, they had two kittens that didn't use my sleeping area as a litter box, which is always a plus. When I wasn't busy wandering around their cool little city and hanging out with those guys at their condo, I was talking to Lee, the Redditor that paid for my plane ticket. Lee is something to behold as well, because you would not even believe the incredible emails that he sent me. This man doesn't even know me, and he took the time to truly speak to me and convey his faith in me. I swear that this man breathed new life into my previously shot self-esteem and warmed my heart. He made sure that if at any point in time I needed any sort of assistance, that he was always on standby. And not only that, but he spoke with such sincerity and depth that every email had me in tears. What are the odds that the two Redditors I'd end up connecting with would end up being two of the most selfless and beautiful people that I have ever met? I am so grateful that one website that I've just used for entertainment all of these years has connected me to these two complete strangers and flipped my perspective on humanity. If it weren't for Lee and A, I wouldn't be sitting on a comfortable bed in my own room in St. Louis writing a happy Reddit post today. I am living with an old neighbor, as I mentioned in an update in my last post. She's awesome and we've known each other for years. She's been aware of this entire situation as it's happened and is letting me stay as long as it takes to get back on my feet. Needless to say, I'm already working on that. I don't have a car anymore, unfortunately, but I do have a bike out here and a lot more options for work. It shouldn't take long for me to pull myself together, especially not with the help that my two new friends provided. I wish that I could send both of them gigantic edible arrangement bouquets, but I might have to settle for postcards for now. Thank you to everyone that cared about my story. Thank you to everyone that wanted to help, and all of you that were absolutely ready and willing to donate money, shelter, rides, etc. to my cause, just because you were good people. Thank you especially to A and Lee. I hate not being able to use your real names, for going above and beyond and completely out of your way to ensure my safe passage back to my hometown. I truly hope that I will be able to return the favor someday. Caught mother-in-law snooping on security cameras, husband furious with me for wanting to press charges. To preface this, I just wanted to let it be known that yes, I know that I overdo it with the camera system a bit. I have a Ring doorbell, along with mini cameras in the living room, kitchen, and mine husband's bedroom. He knows about all the cameras, let me make that clear. He knows where they are, and he is okay with it. You see, about 3 years before we got together, Have been together for 5 years now. I was at my apartment living by myself. Long story short, someone broke in, I tried to fight back and got the crap beaten out of me and had all of my prized possessions stolen. I was in the hospital for a few days, the guy was never caught, and ever since I have had a lot of anxiety, hence the cameras now. I'm in therapy, and have been for 2 years now, and I am doing better. The cameras are a security blanket, and my therapist thinks that they are fine as they help me feel better without being intrusive. Anyway, on to what happened. My husband and I are staunchly child-free, and his mother hates that. She brought it up for years, and we told her no every time. I thought she finally gave up on the idea, but I guess not. My husband and I were at work when I got a notification from Ring on my phone. My mother-in-law was at our house, and she had a spare key to get in. I didn't give her one, that's for sure. She was supposed to be gone in another state visiting her sister, so I was confused and decided to check the inside cameras later. I get home before husband, so I sit down and check the living room video to see that she went towards the back rooms. I pull up the bedroom camera and find her snooping for our stuff. Important to note, we used to use condoms and birth control pills, but then I switched to IUD. We still use condoms. The switch was recent, so I still have my old birth control pills in my nightstand. I see her shuffle around in my nightstand and pull out my birth control pill case and leave the bathroom with them. I go and check and they're in the nightstand again, so she took them and returned them afterwards. I check the living room footage again, and after going to my room, she goes to the kitchen. Kitchen footage shows her taking the birth control pills and putting them in the microwave. She heated them up for about 2 minutes, then put them back where they belong. I was so effing furious because to me, it seems like she was tampering with my birth control in an attempt to get me pregnant. I'm shocked she didn't pull out a pin and start poking holes in the condoms too. When husband gets home, I show him the footage with all of the timestamps. He was reasonably upset too, so I told him that I want to speak to a lawyer and maybe the cops for breaking and entering because we never gave her a key and I don't know how she got a copy. Husband was with me until that. Then he flipped on me and told me that I'm being dramatic, I don't even use birth control pills anymore, so who cares? And accused me of trying to isolate him from his mom. He called me a cow, packed his bag, and went to stay with his friend. It's been 3 days and he hasn't been back yet. What the hell do I do? Do I confront my mother-in-law? Do I ignore my husband and go to my lawyer and police still anyway? This feels batshit. I don't know why he's so mad at me when she's the one potentially committing crimes here. I think you go to the police. I think you get a lawyer for this one. I think you open up your husband's skull and check for a brain mechanism. Genuinely, how can you be so cool with her microwaving your birth control pills? I don't blame you for being furious. What is going on? Has she googled what microwaving birth control pills could potentially do to someone? There's a reason you don't tamper with medication. There's a very good reason for that. Maybe in this case it does nothing but destroy the birth control effect itself, but you never know if it could just like poison someone. She deserves to be taken to court for this. I back you on that one, OP. And now in the comments, I suspect he is the reason that she has a key, and that's part of his extreme reaction. He knows that will come out if there is police involvement. There is no reason to accept that treatment, and I would be thinking very hard about my relationship and pressing charges. Yeah, curious if he was in on it too. I mean, if she has an IUD, then presumably he knows and shouldn't be, but he was way too lax about his mum trying to baby trap them into an abortion. Not the asshole. Get a lawyer, press charges. However, this could be the end of your marriage. Frickin' creepy that she broke into your house and did that. Imagine what else she's done that you don't know about. And OP says, I checked through about a month's worth of footage after this, and luckily I didn't see anything. So I think this was her first and only time ever doing it. I was hoping with some time and maybe with the moral support of a friend, he would see that I wasn't in the wrong. But who knows now? He called you a bitch. Like, no. He took his mother's side after she tampered with your prescription. What if you took birth control pills for something other than just birth control? Because pills are prescribed for a ton of stuff. She tried to steal your bodily autonomy. Maybe your marriage could be saved through therapy and a crap ton of time, but your mother-in-law should be in jail. He was so quick to say that you were isolating him. Gee, I wonder where he got that from. Mummy dearest? Based on his insane reaction, screw it and get a lawyer and file a report, and I'd invite her over for a viewing of the tape. File for divorce too. Change your locks now and don't give him a key. Well, the fact that he minimized his mum messing with your birth control pills is insane by saying, I don't even use birth control pills anymore, so who cares? Does mother-in-law know that? Clearly not, because if she did, she would not have messed with it. So his excuse is BS. Also, I'm 99% sure he gave his mum the spare key, because any normal person would want to find out how someone got a key they should not have. The fact that he screwed off for 3 days over this is insane. The fact that he called you dramatic over this is insane. What the F do I do? You call a divorce lawyer and get any information you need to make sure that you are prepared for what will most likely come next. Do I confront mother-in-law? Don't waste your time, it won't do anything. Do I ignore husband and go to the lawyer or police still anyway? You can do that, but because she has a key and your husband's insane reaction, it won't do anything. The only thing that needs to happen for her to get cleared is your husband saying that he gave her the key and he gave her permission to enter the house. So again, I would not waste my time on this, but please take a good look at your marriage and figure out if you want to be with someone like this. And now back up to the post, we have an edit. Thank you for all the kind replies, well wishes, and advice. I'm going to take a break from replying while I figure this out, and if anything comes of it, I'll update. Few things I have kind of deduced with your help. My husband either A, gave mother-in-law his key, B, made a copy of his and gave it to her, or C, did neither, and she took his key without permission to clone it. I'm leaning towards B. I don't think he was in cahoots with her though, because he knows about the cameras, and he knows I switched from birth control pills to an IUD. For those who are asking, we have repeated combos over the years about being child-free, and he always presented a united front with me, so I don't think he has changed his mind. I think he's just overwhelmed because his mother is crazy. I'm going to call his friend that he's with in the morning since it's getting late. I'll get the message to him that he has to come home and speak with me, or I'll just start the process of a divorce. I guess I'll let you guys know over the next few days. Thank you for listening to me vent/talking it out with me. This crap is crazy, and I really appreciate a safe space to talk about it. And now, onto the update. So I'm going to try to keep this short. There isn't any good news. I tried calling my husband for another day before I finally gave up, and I called his friends to see who he was staying with. Finally, one told me he was staying with his mother. I called mother-in-law's landline, and luckily he answered. I told him we had to talk face to face, otherwise I'll just go through with a divorce. He comes by, confesses he was staying with his mom and didn't tell me because he knew that I'd be mad. After some pushing, he admitted to making a copy of his key and giving his mum one. He confessed to wanting kids. I asked about why his dating profile way back when said child-free, why he put up a united front of no children with me for years, only to suddenly change his mind. He said it was because he saw how lonely his mum is, and agrees now that we need kids to liven up holidays, to give her something to do, etc. As in, his sole reason now for having kids were for his mother, not his own, not a change of heart, just because his mum wanted grandbabies. He insisted that he didn't realize his mum would go this far, which I believe because if they were plotting, then he would have told her that I no longer was on birth control and tampering with it would do nothing. He would also have told her not to break in because of the cameras. I packed his crap in a trash bag and kicked him out, told him to go back to mummy and that my divorce lawyer will be in contact soon. At that point I hadn't changed the locks. I wasn't sure of the legality of it and didn't want to do something that could potentially hurt my chances in court. Besides, I didn't think mother-in-law would show up again because she had her baby boy. Turns out I was wrong. She showed up later, knocking, and I pretended not to be home, as my car was in the garage and she couldn't see it. She knocked for 15 minutes, and I debated calling the police, but before I could, she entered the property with her key. I was furious, and, not gonna lie, it gave me a flashback to my attack, and I had a panic attack. I was inconsolable and crying, and I ended up locking myself in the bathroom. She called me a soul crusher, heartless, and a shitty wife, along with some other colorful insults, before finally leaving. It took like 5 hours to calm down. After that, I called my brother. He is staying with me now, he has changed the locks, and he has helped me with contacting a lawyer and starting the divorce. Husband has been doing damage control and got to all friends and family before I could and spun a bullcrap lie that I was trying to isolate him from his mother, that I'm making false police reports, etc. And it sucks to say, but a majority believe him, because he was their friends first before me. But I was able to talk to a few and tell them my side of the story. And that's where I am, about to be divorced, honestly scared and upset, and am now doing 2 therapy sessions a week to try to work on all the progress that had been lost when soon-to-be ex-mother-in-law broke in again. And now in the comments, when the divorce is finalized, I'd post the video of his mum going through your things and tampering with your pills. Everyone will see what really happened. Second this, wait till the legal proceedings are over and post it. Whack behavior doesn't deserve to be kept private if you are openly lying about it. You are gonna come out of this like a glorious phoenix without that loser and his Joe Costa mum holding you down. How is the husband spinning this when he knows OP has videos? She should post them everywhere. Right? A nice stitched together video of door, bedroom, kitchen, bedroom. I would email it to every goddamn body and then go file that police report. And in today's episode of Emotional Incest, I remember when this was a popular Reddit topic, and it was one of the most upvoted subjects in vending subs. One of the first ones I read was about a mother-in-law who spent the night on the couple's room during their honeymoon, and if I remember correctly, mocked the wife for the lack of sex. I remember one where mother-in-law stayed in the bed with husband during honeymoon while wife slept elsewhere, and then crap spiraled more and more until mother-in-law sent the husband and wife her pubes in the mail. That was some of the craziest series of posts I've read. I'm honestly surprised it's not one of the top posts in this sub. Anyway, moving on. Girlfriend, now ex, is pregnant and wants to give up for adoption. I don't. What are my rights? Girlfriend just broke up with me. She's 3 months pregnant and told me that she wants to give up the baby for adoption and there is nothing I can do. She's 19, I'm 20. I want to be the father to this child, and if she doesn't want the baby, it's fine for her, but I do want the baby. Can she do it without my consent? What are my rights here? We're at Houston, Texas. And now in the comments, are you ready to be a single dad? Hopefully, because that's your future. Establish paternity, you can get full custody, and she can pay child support. And OP says, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't stressed about it, but I'm guessing anyone would be regardless of age. I'm up for this and want to accept my responsibility. Don't tell her that she's going to be on the hook for child support though. Once you block the adoption, you don't want her fighting you for custody just because she doesn't want to pay. I'm a single dad. It is so much hard work, but it's totally worth it. Some advice, save all the information you can now about this process and how she's attempting to adopt out the baby, so when she inevitably comes back to take your child, you'll have some hard evidence to shut her down. Bingo. Document everything. Keep all communication civil, as I work in family law, and this poster hit the nail on the head. A lot of good points in this thread. Definitely stay quiet about child support until you have custody. Good luck. Being a dad will be the best thing that's ever happened to you. My comments are not as attorney, but as an adoptive parent of 2 kids. We have not had to go through the identification of a birth father on a state registry, but this is my general understanding of what happens. If the birth father is registered, that does not guarantee you'll be successful in stopping the adoption. What it does is allow you to have a voice in the process and give you a fighting chance. She could still go to an adoption agency to place the child, either say that the birth father you are known or not, and eventually the agency will be required to search the registry where your name will come up. Likely after this happens, the attorney that the adoptive couple is using will contact you to determine what you want. Meet the couple, pictures and letters, visitation rights, etc., to try to continue the adoption. If needed, they will go to court to convince the judge that the child is better off with them and not you. The judge will have to weigh the options to determine whether they want to terminate your parental rights. Good luck. I know you have a lot on your mind and you want to keep the child. I will tell you that if you decided to be supportive of the adoption in the future, that it is nice to have both birth parents to be in the kid's life as they are growing up. And now on to the update. Short version, I'm sitting here and my baby daughter is right here next to me, taking a nap. Long version, if you remember, I asked about how I should go about stopping my then pregnant ex from leaving the baby for adoption. I listened to the suggestions, got a lawyer, put myself on the registry as well. She really wanted to fight me over this right until the last month of the pregnancy. I was fully ready to fight her legally to get my rights as the father, but in the final month, she changed her mind and decided to give me full custody instead of giving up the child for adoption. So we had no messy legal fight over it. The childbirth and custody situation went very smoothly. My lawyer took care of it quickly, and my ex made it easy as well. Her family didn't like this, but they couldn't do anything about it in the end. So I have my baby daughter. Taking care of my baby is difficult, but certainly worth it. I feel like I have something to live for. My family has been super helpful, and with their help, we can make sure my daughter is happy. I also got a promotion at work. I realized that I need to be more ambitious because I now have a baby to provide for. A higher position was open at my work, and I asked for the promotion, but they told me I'm too young. I then offered to do the job as a trial for 1 month without any extra pay, only to prove that I can do it. After a month, they gave me the job. As most of you suggested, and my lawyer did too, I had my lawyer file for child support after I had full custody. My ex didn't like it and wasn't expecting it. She actually called me names and various insults and all of that, but I didn't say anything, just that communications should go through my lawyer. She said she regrets making it easy for me to get the baby. I don't know, I didn't need the child support payments for daily care of my daughter, but I think she deserves to have something saved up for the future and for her college. I didn't have the chance to go to college myself. Not smart enough, I'm not good at studying. But I want to make sure my daughter has the chance. My sister-in-law is helping me set up the 529 plan with Vanguard, and I think I'll send most of the child support payments there once I start receiving them. Thank you all. And now in the comments, ended up a bit differently from the OP who made his girlfriend give birth, and then came back to legal advice asking how he could force her to help take care of the baby. Ugh, that one was horrible. He tried to baby trap her, got what he asked for, and then came here whining about it. Granting a parent full custody is not the same as relinquishing parental rights. So did the full custody agreement involve a relinquishing of rights, or does she still have her rights and just no custody? I get the child support thing, but my question would be then, how ironclad is this full custody agreement? If she can reopen that agreement through court whenever she would want, honking her off when you don't need the money is a short-sighted decision. What happens when OP wants his new wife to adopt the kid? Can she prevent the daughter's adoption? Is she crazy and vindictive enough to use the courts to walk back into her daughter's life and mess things up just to mess with him? Maybe it's just my risk-averse nature, but I bet you anything that this is not the last piece of drama in this saga. Since OP is going after child support, then we have to assume the mother's parent-child relationship has not been terminated. You are absolutely right. This can totally come back to bite OP in the butt. I found it interesting that he got a promotion on taking on the child. Most of the time, a mother would not get the promotion because it would be assumed she's going to slack off work to be a mommy. Statistically, fathers generally see an increase in status and pay when they have their first child, the baby bump, and mothers often see a decrease. Fathers are often perceived as more committed to the job, and mothers are perceived as less. I'm not sure if anyone has run the analysis comparing unmarried fathers to unmarried mothers. I mean, how much money does a 19-year-old make to give in child support that he is going after her for it? Also, who is giving a 20-year-old a promotion? Everyone in this story is so damn young, I don't even know what to make of it. I was given multiple promotions between the ages of 19 to 23. It's all about how hard you work and where you work. For example, I was in retail and was promoted to trainer, then shift lead, and then assistant manager. It's all about context. Unexposed is titled, "The girl that I've been hooking up with is in a bad relationship with her married boss." So I met Stacy at a bar for a one-night stand almost 2 months ago. We clicked and decided to keep in contact. We've been hooking up regularly since then and have become great friends. We are friends with benefits. I knew that she was seeing someone else, but she told me they were in a non-exclusive relationship like ours, so I didn't care. When we got drunk, she would tell me about how the other guy took her for granted many times, but I never pressed her about it. Last week, she slipped and told me the other guy was her boss and that he was ignoring her for his wife. This surprised me because Stacy is a funny, confident, and level-headed person. I would have never guessed that she was a mistress of her boss. When I asked her about it the next day, she got angry, so I dropped it. 2 days ago, Stacy called me agitated and asked me to pick her up from a hotel. When we got back, she wanted to smash. I asked her why she was so agitated and she wouldn't answer. I tried pushing, but she stonewalled me. Yesterday, after we went to bed, she called her boss when she thought I was asleep. talked to her about it yet. Stacy is the most assertive and confident person I know, and seeing her in that state really affected me. I really wanted to help my friend, but I don't know how to do it. She blocked all my previous attempts to talk about it. She is a dear friend of mine, and I want to help her. What do I do now? Man, sucks to be her. Damn, that's crazy, dude. Damn, Stacy, I hope you figure that one out, Stacy. That's kind of wild. Anyway, we're not committed to a relationship here, and we're just friends with benefits, so this affects me 0%, believe it or not. What you get up to in your private time is none of my business, so, yeah. God, good luck. And now in the comments, you're catching feelings. I don't think you understand how this works. You are half of couple of friends with benefits. There is no expectation of commitment. She is the affair partner of her boss, and he will certainly not leave his family for her. Guys like him are players and know how to blind and sweet-talk women. What she needs to do is look for a new job and go no contact with her lover. It seems though she's in love with him and needs to find out the hard way herself. Not much you can do besides being there for her and lending her a shoulder to cry on. Dude, you do realize when you picked her up from the hotel, she was just with her boss, smashing, and was trying to get you to smash her right after. That's pretty nasty. Talk about sloppy seconds. She wants him and not you for whatever reason. Probably money/power. Not that you don't have or won't achieve that, but she has a fixation. Hook up with her all you want, but for your health, you should get out and start dating again. Maybe one day she'll come around, but as long as they are both at that job, then she'll probably be fixated on him. And even if not, then her boss can probably reinitiate the relationship at will. I think this girl doesn't like herself enough to take care of her mental health and leave a bad situation. If you date her, then she'll probably treat you as badly as she treats herself. Run away, far, far away. And now on to the update. I pressed her about her relationship with her boss after my post. She blew up and told me she'd stop talking to me. She called me the next day and apologized. I invited her, and she told me about her relationship with her boss. It's the same story you tend to hear in situations like these. It was her first proper job, and her boss was super nice to her. They started meeting outside, and he told her how his wife is a cow and won't look after him. She started sleeping with him and slowly fell in love. He loves Stacy but won't leave his wife. She started getting fed up with being his mistress and asked him to leave his wife. He kicked her out and stopped talking to her. That's why she was begging him to take her back. I told her I won't be sleeping with her anymore. We spent that whole weekend in my apartment. We shut off our phones and every form of communication from the outside. We played video games, talked, and cooked all day. We spoke about why she was that way with her boss, and I managed to convince her to quit her job and break it off. There were a ton of missed calls and messages from her boss telling her how sorry he was for kicking her out and how worried he was. I was afraid that she would go back to being his mistress when she went to the office, but she held strong. She turned in her notice and resignation letter, and her boss begged her to stay. We found a job for her pretty quickly. She told me that he was begging her to stay every day. One day, he followed her to my apartment. We were effectively roommates by then, and he started banging the door and got angry when he saw me. He started screaming at Stacy for leaving him, but I stopped him and threatened to call the cops. He left. After that, Stacy was scared and moved in with me completely. On her last day at the job, he followed her back to my apartment. He started threatening me and telling me how he would destroy me if I didn't give Stacy back to him. She told him that she would tell his wife about them if he ever came back. He begged her to come with him, but he left eventually. He started tailing and stalking Stacy after that. He kept calling and messaging her constantly. So we found his wife. She was some rich socialite who did a lot of charity events. We found her at one of these events, took some pictures with her, and sent them to him as a warning. He stopped after that, and we haven't seen him for over a week. I hope we don't see him again. Stacy and I are roommates now. We haven't had sex since the beginning of the whole ordeal. She's a great roommate and friend. She keeps thanking me for helping her leave the toxic relationship. She also started going to therapy. I don't know what the future holds for us. And now in the comments, taking pictures with a wife is an absolute power move. And a dick move. The wife is the victim here. This asshole knew that she was having an affair with a married man, and like other assholes, she thought that she would win the guy's affection away from the wife. Now they are using the wife as a bargaining chip. I wish she had gone to HR for sexual harassment, and the police for stalking and threatening her. Oh, and gone ahead and told the wife. If the company is small, or the boss is also HR, both fairly common scenarios, it wouldn't have been an option. 95% of HR departments are there to protect the company, and if they had to decide between a female entry-level employee and a senior executive, they would have chewed her up and spit her out. Yeah, a better move would have been to gather proof and get an employment lawyer, sue the pants off the place, and move on. HR departments are typically spineless company people who will never rock the boat. I wish I could be surprised at how many men are ready to implode their domesticity just to get their ends in. Source: grew up with a dad who has been cheating on my mom since before they got married. His youngest illegitimate is 2 years younger than my niece. Takes two to tango. The men are scumbags, but so are the women they cheat with. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you liked it. If you did, let me know what you thought of it down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.